Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We have an amazing show planned for you. We have an interview with the gentleman who took Han for Tarkin Town to the top 8 at the Galactic Championship, or as I like to call it, Worlds. So we're gonna interview him tonight. We're gonna talk a little bit about his deck choices, why he picked this. We're gonna kind of go through that whole thing, and if we think it's still gonna be good into the upcoming meta. We're also gonna be talking about season 1, a little bit about how you could score some points, because PQ season has officially kicked off. If you didn't know that, there was some PQs this weekend. We're not covering PQs tonight. I have had enough of that. We will cover that next week, but we are going to cover season 1 and kind of talk a little bit about it. And we're excited to talk about Secrets of Power reveals, which we did not get to last week. So we are 100% going to be covering Secrets of Power, a little bit about the new mechanics that you're going to see, and why we're excited, because Trench is going to become the top deck that you're going to get to play in this next set. With that being said, let me bring my co-host in for tonight. Please welcome the bench warmer himself, Mr. Alex. How are you tonight, sir?
Tonight, it's 11 in the morning.
Same thing. You wouldn't know. In my basement, okay. I have no windows that are visible. So my window is up there, and it I guess it's day when my ships are highlighted. That's how you know that.
No, I'm doing okay. I'm excited because I'm going to go see a movie or something today. Either the re-release of Blues Brothers, which is my favorite movie, or go see something like The Naked Gun. Still debating which one.
If you see The Naked Gun, let me know how good it is. That is on my list of actual movies to see in the theater, which I normally don't go to the theater, but I don't know. That's like a classic from my childhood, so it's kind of hard not to want to see it.
I heard it's good, but I haven't seen it yet.
Fair enough. Also joining us is the reigning Han for Tarkin Town champ, the official person who's gone the farthest with Han for Tarkin Town. Please welcome Matthew to the show. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. Some wonderful discussion to get started. I, too, want to see The Naked Gun. I loved those back in the day. And the Blues Brothers, I was really pleased to hear that. My dad loved that movie, and I may have watched it a lot of times as a kid growing up. So to hear that it's re-released, I had missed that, so I'm gonna have to see if it's in my local theater and see if I can check it out.
Yeah, Alex is our resident movie buff. So when there's a good movie that's about to come out, Alex usually messages me. He's like, "Hey, gonna see this gonna come out?" And then it's like, because I don't go to the movie theaters very often. Like I don't like paying the money for it. I mean, that's what happens when you have 4 kids, right? But so I don't typically go to the movie theater very often. Except for once in a while. There's certain horror movies I like to see in the theater, and then they're like, if a Star Wars thing comes out, obviously I would see that in the theater. And I'm probably gonna have to see the new Tron movie in the theater, because I've seen all of them officially now in IMAX, so I would like to probably see the third one. Whether it's good or not, we'll see. But
a fun fact. Fun fact.
Go ahead.
There, they're going to re-release The New Hope on 2027. I was reading an article about it the other day, and I was like, circle that on the calendar now. I got to make sure I go see that in the theater.
Yeah,
real interesting which version they re-release, right?
That was the question.
Yeah, I think it's funny because because I'm 42, and when I was younger, right? Because obviously I didn't get to see the original ones in the theater. When they re-released them with their like widescreen edition or whatever they call it, in the theater when I was younger, like I made my dad take me to go see them, and my dad absolutely hated it, not because he hated Star Wars, but he hated the noise. Like my father did not like how loud it was at all. So like I remember going, and like my dad would sit there and you could just see him cringing every time like a Star Destroyer would come on the screen. And then I got to see all the original ones back in the theater again, like before the new trilogy release, when I was in middle school or high school. I don't remember which it was. So yeah, so it was always funny. Like I always go and see them. Like my son is pretty big into Star Wars, and so like he goes with me to see any of the new ones. Like when they re-released Rogue One before Andor got released, we went and saw that in IMAX just specifically so we could say we saw it a second time in the theater, because he had to been maybe 5 years old when that came out. Was that 2006 or 2008? I don't remember anymore. It was a long time ago.
Rogue One?
Yeah.
Or Rogue
Yeah,
One was
Rogue One.
2016.
Was it? No. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he was definitely not 5 years old, but he did go. We did go see. Was it really 26? No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it's relatively recent.
All right, you're killing me here. All right, well, I just feel old today, so we're gonna keep moving on because I don't want to feel any older than I need to feel. So, Matt, we're having you on the show. I ran into you in Vegas. We had like friend groups. We had similar friend groups. So it was like, oh, hey, look at this guy, and it's like, oh, you made top 8. So with the deck, and it's the funny thing is you brought Han for Tarkin Town to the show or to the Galactic Championship. And it's really funny because one of my testing partners was running that. I was on Lake County. He was on the Tarkin Town deck. And then we're like, all right, with all the bombing run hate, there's no way we can run these decks. We're just going to run Han 2 blue. We're super paranoid about that bombing hate. But then we see you made top 8 and it's like, oh, damn it. All right, we should have ran that. We should have ran that deck because nobody would have expected that. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Matt. You know, kind of like what's your intro into games, why you like Han, and I don't know. Yeah, kick it off. Tell us about you.
Oh, I've been playing card games for a long time. Started with Magic the Gathering back in the day. I started with Revised. In fact, when I started, there were still some beta packs on the shelf at my local gaming store, which wasn't a gaming store. It was a trophy shop. That's what they did. In the front was trophies, and in the back you had the gaming room. It's like they were ashamed of us, so they hid us away. But we still had some beta packs. Fun fact, it was easy to find a lot of the expansions for that game at the time, even though supposedly they were hard to find. I don't know if it was Inquest, I think was the magazine, and he used to say, oh, these are, if you can find these are great, you should get them. The only set we never got was Legends. Legends was near impossible to find. We never did get it. Like we had the Dark, Arabian Nights, all that stuff. But anyways, I was raised on games. Just to go even further back, like my whole family's we're huge board game fans, or at least back in the day. We'd sit there, grandma, grandpa, my dad, my sister, we'd all sit around. Mom was around, she'd play with us too, and we'd play games just nonstop. And my dad was very much oh, I'm not going to let you win. I don't care how much you cry. My sister would just throw hissy fits because dad wouldn't let her win. And he'd be mean. And then grandma would be like, oh, come on, let him win. But dad was like, no. If they want it, they got to earn it. And, he just was ruthless. And so that just, carried that on forward. And then, I got them into playing Magic, because I thought, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. Because, we played Rook, we played Bridge, we played all the games. And then we played Magic as a family forever. And so getting into that and just going forward, but I never did like Magic's resource system, right? So move forward, I had around Ikora for Magic, I had started kind of losing that desire to go to competitive events because, it felt a little more luck-based than skill-based. And, there's a lot of players that might disagree with me on that. But if you know anything about resource systems, and that's usually what the engines of all the games, Magic's is not my favorite. But Lorcana had come out, and so that was really fun. It was a blast to play, and then Star Wars was on the horizon. And being a casualty of the old Decipher Star Wars game, I was like, another Star Wars game where they're going to. I didn't even try. Was it Destiny? Was that the first one that FFG did?
Well, technically, it was the second one because Decipher was the first one, according to it. But yes.
I was talking about Cody, but you're right. There was the Destiny. I didn't even try it. I was like, yeah, it's another licensed game. They're going to yank the license at some point, and I'll love it, and then I won't be able to play it. And but Lorcana was great. I really enjoyed it. But then I played a demo of Star Wars because I had nothing else to do at the time, and I was like, this game is amazing. This is everything I wish Lorcana was. Oh my gosh, this back and forth action system. Every game should be this good. Like, you're always engaged. For a game, that's fantastic. Like, how many times do you play another game where you sit there for 20, 30 minutes not doing anything? All right, probably not that bad, but I'm thinking multiplayer and Magic.
Sure.
But
yeah.
Anyways, that's how I got into Star Wars. I went from Lorcana to Star Wars, and then, hadn't looked back. There's been a couple of times I had thought about getting out of Star Wars because it hadn't really picked up a lot locally. So it was hard to get constant games and to get to play and just have fun. Carabast, Pinchaki, however you say that place. However, let you continue to play and get games in when you can't get in locally. A lot of our local games are on Thursdays, and Thursday's just an absolute miserable day for me to actually make it out to a shop and play. So most of my games are on Carabast and Pinchaki. That's a little bit overview from me.
Yeah. So your family's a magic family, which is funny. So I'm going to ask you a little bit real quick. Did your father growing up, did he ever play memory when you were a little kid and not let you win memory and get called out by like your mother or somebody else to say, hey, why are you not letting the kid win a little bit? He's only 5 years old.
No, I don't remember memory, but I remember checkers. And then, he definitely was big into chess. That was one of those things. And he was absolutely ruthless. The funny thing, I like watching Bluey with my kiddo, and there was an episode of Bluey that exact same scenario. He's just crushing Bluey, the dad is, and mom's giving him a rough time about it. And my favorite episode of Bluey, like it was just like, oh, that's my childhood. What do you know?
Yeah. That's funny because I would tell you that was my father, but my father was very strict about that too, but that was me. That was me and my son. And I remember getting all sorts of crap from my mother. Like, don't you remember your childhood? You used to hate your dad when he did that and blah, blah, blah. Because so we grew up not playing board games, but it was card games. Like for my family, like I know how to play bridge. Like we could actually have a bridge tournament.
Oh, I love bridge. I should actually play bridge. It's one of my
we could do
favorite
that.
games.
We could actually play because my grandmother taught me how to play bridge when I was like way little. Like that was just a thing that she was into. And so like the church people, I must have been a church thing. I don't know. And so I learned how to play bridge and cribbage and euchre. I don't know if you know how to play euchre or not, but
I don't, but I've heard it.
Well, good. Come to Michigan. Come to Michigan. We'll play euchre. We'll put some cash on the line, and maybe we'll put some of those promos you got. I'll take let's put that Darth Vader promo there on that line. Because I will kick the shit. I will win euchre like nobody's business. Like, yeah, euchre. I don't know. We grew up playing euchre like it was nobody's business. So like anyway, I grew up playing card games, but my father would like the way my father played cribbage. I don't know if you've ever played cribbage or not.
A little. Bridge was the big one. We also did a lot of rook, poker, all forms of poker, just every version of poker.
Yep. So the way cribbage is you have to like you have to match your 15s and match your pairs and things like that. That's how you score points. My father would sit there and you would show your hand and he would ask you if like you would tell them how many points you think you had in your hand. And the way he played it was you had to tell him how many points and he would ask you if that was correct or not. And if you said no, he would take the extra points and score them himself. That's how my dad played. And so like you had like it made you learn really quickly all the different combinations and like it made you think ahead of time, like what the combinations are while you're holding your hand up for it. So I don't know. Anyway, you don't need to hear about my like crazy aggressively childhood. So
it sounds familiar. There's definitely some themes there that I recognize.
Yeah. Which is funny because the older I got, like when I graduated, I went out and wanted to party all the time. And then once you start having kids, you can't go out and party all the time. So then you start playing board games. And like I got the big first board game I ever got into was like Catan, right? Like that was like the thing I taught my sons was we're going to play Catan. You're going to love this. And that's like the intro game for us in the family is Catan. And if you like Catan enough, then we play the City and Knights Catan because it introduces a couple of other things. And then if you like that enough, then we introduce the Wayfarers because then now you get the ships and the little overseas things, and which is really cool. But then we got it. Then the second intro game is Talisman. So you have to play Talisman with me if you're my kid. Like so that's the thing. And I don't know if anybody Talisman's old as hell too. Like they're on like the 5th edition or something like that. But I own almost everything. Like there's a closet. Those closets are full of board games. The top shelf, 2 shelves are all just Talisman shit. So,
well, the current household, I'm the only gamer. I can get them to play Scrabble. I tried Pokemon. Laura Connor was actually a bridge attempt. I have custody of my niece, and I was trying to get her into games and they're not big gamers. My wife loves Scrabble though. She'll play Scrabble and she's vicious. She puts that doctorate on display every time. She's really good at Scrabble.
That's fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the deck. You took Han for Tarkin Town to the Galactics, and so I want to do a couple of different things. I'm going to bring your list up on screen, but what I want to do is let's talk a little bit about, like, before you tell us what your list is, let's kind of talk about your decision to bring this this deck to life. You know, like I said, I think Han for Lake County has always been kind of strong, right? Like it's been something that has been around in the meta. People have like topped with it, and so it's not like it was an unknown quantity. But you chose to take Tarkin Town specifically over that, and in the Tarkin Town, you're only running a few red cards comparatively different. So tell us a little bit about your decision to bring this specific deck to Galactics.
So it starts with I was on Han 2 Blue back in the set 4 before Legends released. I really liked Rebellious Hammerhead into Luke. I thought it was a very powerful line of play. It gave you a lot of 2-for-1s, so the deck felt really powerful. I took it down to the Duluth PQ, and you know, some days it's not your day. And I played, after I was out, I played 3 Vader 4s in a row, which is what I expected more of. I also expected a lot more blue, green, black villainy versions, namely Kira to be exact, maybe a Krennic or 2. And sometimes those Krennic players just won't let go. And I just got crushed. And it was one of those things where old me would have been like, where did I make the mistakes? New me was, well, is this really worth the time investment? Because you get to maybe play 1 or 2 PQs before the season rotates out. And so, you know, it was back and forth on that. But moving forward from that, I took from that Han 2 Blue can be powerful, but it can also be inconsistent. So going back from that, I was like, what deck have I enjoyed the most? Which deck felt just super consistent and I felt like was just always overperforming? And for me, that was Kazuda Red. So going back to Kazuda Red, just smashing my version without any updates into, you know, what's going on Karabast and Penetraki, just to get a feel for, you know, am I right? Is this going to feel better? Is this going to help? And I quickly determined space is where I wanted to be. Like, space is great. All these force guys want to hang out on the ground and throw the force around at each other. Oh, okay, cool. I'm just going to go to space and shoot you with my ships, and you know, life will be great. But I was Kazuda could sometimes take the Vader 4 match, but the Vader 4 match did not feel wonderful, and it was Sanctioneer Shuttle that did that. And it just, you're like, okay, I've got it set up, and then they shuttle, and then, you know, Overwhelming Barrage, and all of a sudden, I'm glad I had a ship or 2, now I don't have anything. You could do some damage, and you'd feel like you're ahead for a moment, and then they just obliterate you. And so one of the things I've also learned from cards all these years is to be a student of the game. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You don't have to be the most innovative, but you do have to know what the meta is. You have to have the pillars, so to speak, of what the meta is going to be, and then you find what fits that meta and you make it work. And so going back through the list, I was going, you know, I keep a running list of my decks, and I was like, oh yeah, here's that Han Lake Country. It sort of does what Kazuda does. It goes a little wider, though. Maybe that's where I want to be. Maybe I want to be a little wider. And going back and running that, it was having some success, but I was also having some problems with some cards. Han 2 Green felt miserable. Thanks, Blue Leader. And then Poe, you know, oh, look, I get a 4/5 that's, you know, way better than the Stolen Hauler, and it doesn't cost me anything. And so going back to that part right there, I thought, okay, that's great. But I was like, what's missing here? And going back to that, I realized that I needed some better early interaction that Lake Country was missing. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted. And I really didn't want to be on the ground unless the ground punched really hard. Like Plo Koon, or Poe for that matter. Or Cassian, where he's going to flip and just going to get that last 3 damage in there. Because that was something else Lake Country was missing, was the reach. You know, get to that point, you're just like, gosh, I just need, like, man, can I just draw Daring Raid? That'd be great. And so that's kind of where that came back in. And then I really realized real early on that Tarkin Town was a fantastic onboard answer to start the game against Han 2. You just quickly answered what they did, especially if they had to, anything other than Grogu, which is by far their best turn one drop is Grogu. If they didn't do Grogu and they did anything else, even the 2/4s, you were fine. You were super happy. And then especially if they had to play a 3-drop where you're just like, we'll Tarkin Town that. You're not going to keep them off the force the whole game, but you just wanted to delay it just enough so that they weren't playing optimal lines. They were behind. Because once they were behind, when you hit that flip turn with Han, you were just going to be so far ahead. And while they may feel like they were getting back into it, they weren't. You were just trying to figure out the last key pieces to get that damage in and take it home before they were back in the game. And most of the time you could do that. The times you couldn't is when they had the multiple force draws or the force throw draws. They had the multiple Grogu draws. And so, we were talking a little bit earlier before the show started, and that was one of the things is like, I don't feel bad into the Han matches at all. But if they have their perfect draw or they have an above average draw, it can be a harder matchup. If they don't, I feel great. I mean, I can play that game. I know my lines. I know what I want to do. And it felt wonderful. Yeah, my first 2 Hans I played on day one, they sent me packing. But once things got back into the order I expected and I just played the cards, set out to have fun, it put itself back in order.
So the big thing you see here is you believe this. You brought this deck specifically because you knew Han 2 was going to be a big thing at Galactic. Thank you. So that was a big thing for you. Was I want to take something that kind of counters the actual meta.
Yeah, and so the meta I expected, and I missed. I mean, I played some. In fact, you can look at my record. I played probably 3 of them, I think. But I was expecting a lot of Han 2. I was expecting a fair amount of Sabine, my friend Blake Edmondson, which won one of the first PQs, I think the first Memphis PQ with Sabine. He was just like, Sabine's still great. Sabine's in a great place, So I was expecting some Sabine. But I was also expecting that blue-green-black villainy because, let's be honest, New Vader and Ambush is really nice. It's a very powerful effect. In fact, I did some testing iterations where I just circled back to make sure I hadn't missed on Han 2, hadn't missed on blue-green-black villainy, that I had understood what I was expecting, that the decks played the way they thought. There was no new innovation there that made me think, oh, no, I chose poorly. I should be back on these guys. And I didn't find that. In fact, I love the blue-green-black villainy matchup with Han 4. It's surprisingly good, especially if you time it right. You just got to get that jam communications for overwhelming barrage, and that matchup feels fantastic.
Yeah, which I think is good, because if you could, game the meta, right? Like when we went into it, we played Han 2 Blue specifically because we teched a little bit for the Han 2 Blue matchup, and because as a testing partners, like my local guys, we were just playing it into each other. So like we're like, screw it, if we could beat the Han 2 Blue matchup ourselves, we're golden. Right, and which is hilarious because day one, my buddy and I had to play day one, and our first round, both of our first rounds were Han 2 Blue, and we both lost the first match after we did all that teching. Now I had to play 2 more throughout the day, and I didn't lose to them, but yeah. So that was a whole thing. So I guess let's go over the list. Why don't you go ahead, read your list out loud, and I'm sure Alex has a couple of questions about why you chose certain cards over other cards. So,
all right. So starting with the list there, I think the first thing you'll notice is the first 18 cards are all 1-drops. Actually, the first 23, a lot of 1-drops in the deck. Optimal play really feels like 2 1-drops on turn 1. Okay. It's not always. Sometimes C3PO is the best option, but he's not a guarantee because he's only a 3 of, and fun fact, he's the only even card main deck. So all those 1-drops, though, if you look at them, they're interactive or they're space. 2 1-drops aren't as scary when no one's doing anything with them. 2 1-drops on the ground, and if you look at, there was some, when Han 4 first came out, there was a couple of Tarkin Town lists that exist but they were trying to do a lot more of the card coordinate on the ground, and they were a little more ground heavy. They did have a fair amount of space, but it felt like more of the space was clean up than the driving factor. So that's where the one drops were. And the one card that surprised a lot of people and just did a huge amount of heavy lifting was Swoop Down. That card was first spoiled. Magic Me was like, I got to burn an attack. What is the point of this card? But it is the cheapest, heaviest hitting removal that you can play in this deck, right? A Falcon without anything else on it's dealing 5 damage and probably taking 1 or 2 points of damage back. So you're taking out a 5 toughness thing, and you're doing it early. All the other one drops, the Jam Communication, the Daring Raid, their interaction with the board or reach. Jam Communication being huge, so much so that a lot of people, another question I get a lot from a lot of people is, why isn't there 3 Jam Communications main? There are certain matchups where Jam wasn't the best. And a lot of times when you wanted the jam, you were just wanting it for the flip turn, right? So you just wanted the one for the flip turn. You could lead with that to clear the way, and then you could play the rest of your flip turn knowing what they're doing and play appropriately. But there are some matchups where it is fantastic, and so that's why the 3rd is in the board. So got all the ships for the early layout to get ahead. They're all odd costs, so Han's loving that. He's digging that for the flip turn. The C3PO is probably, I hate to say the most skilled card because I think most people can look at it and go, oh, you reveal the top card, you play C3PO, you name it. Oh, so skilled. But he does a lot. And knowing when he's the right time to play and when he's not is, I think, also integral. One of my favorite things that I did throughout the tournament was C3POs on the board. I'd reveal, and it would be a good card. It'd be a card that they're like, oh, does he need that right now? Does that change this whole game? How does this impact? And I would know that I don't have to have it right then and there. But I do know that if I go ahead and swing with something else, they're absolutely going to go after C3PO to try to prevent me from drawing it this turn. So I could use C3PO as bait to turn a game that might have been a race into not being a race because that top card shook them. They're like, oh, what does that do? And I knew the line better than they did because I've been playing the deck and they were still going, what is he doing here? Who is this guy? Has he ever played Star Wars before? Did someone hand him a pre-con or a spotlight deck and say, hey, go play in this, So that's where C3PO, I think, you have to know, is the card really that important? What you're doing with it, when you need that card, when is that 4 toughness on the ground to start the turn 1 more important than 2 spaceships? So there's some lines there that, lots of repetition kind of helped me determine that. So that's C3PO. The next is your 3 drops. You got a large amount. Boshek is card advantage. Cassian Andor, he's reach and card advantage, right? Smuggle is card advantage. It's a resource, and when you need it later, it's a card. So that was another thing because early on, especially with Lake Country, you guys had said you'd played some Lake Country there. You can have those games where you don't have the cards, right? You run out of cards.
Yep, they kill your C3PO and you're just screwed because you're like, oh, well, there goes that. Because that's all I had for turn 1.
Where's Boshak? You're like, man, I need something else. And so something else I had noticed Lake Country not doing, and even the early versions of Han 4, was you didn't have the TIE Fighter, right? The mining TIE Fighter is another card to draw effect. So you have that, Boshak, you have C3PO, and then you add in the Cassian. And so now you've got more card draw than you had before. So it was a rare game when I ran out of cards, right? So I had the card advantage, and so I could leverage that. It's okay to throw 1 drops at things, or even if the 1 drops are going to die, if you have more cards than your opponent, because they're still burning resources to deal with something that you spent less resources doing, plus they were extra in the first place. And then you get to the big punchers, the Millennium Falcons. I mean, and let's be honest, that makes sense. So the 2 Falcons, one is amazing because it comes into play ready, right? The first one, a piece of junk, which it's anything but. It is probably the MVP card in the deck because it gives you so many extra lines and gives you the explosive factor, right? They don't know it's coming, and even if they have an idea it's coming, they don't know for certain. So as long as you keep leaving 3 resources up while you do other things, they always have to go, is that going to be a Falcon? So you add that, especially if they're leading up to that turn, they start attacking into the board thinking, oh, I can control this, I can keep him off the pilot. And they may limit the amount of resources I get from a flip, but they don't stop when the Falcon comes down, then Han flips onto it. That's still going to ready 2 resources. And then if there's one other thing on the board, there's 3, which is a lot of the deck, right? I still get to do a lot with the 3 drop zone down. So a lot of potential there. But the one thing that Lake Country did was you could Voltron out Millennium Falcon, right? The new one, get out and push, because that thing could turn into an absolute monster, a beast to deal with. But in this case, how many times did that happen in the tournament? Not much. I really found for this tournament, going wide was where I wanted to be, and a lot of times it did it. But there was always that situation where all of a sudden you'd play that Falcon, and either they had PTSD from having another Falcon beat them up abysmally bad, or they just realized there's some potential there for that to be a lot of crack damage. And I think sometimes throughout the tournament, I saw people erroneously go after that Falcon when maybe they had a better target and they just didn't realize it, or they just didn't do the math correctly. So Falcons carry a lot of weight. They're a named card. And let's be honest, my favorite ship. So period, even before the Star Wars game. So it's nice. And then the other piece of removal, and that's what it is. Even if it's temporary removal, best removal, this deck packs, it's the Sanctioneer Shuttle. And most of the time it's owned automatically turn 2 because you're leading with 2 1-drops. And that's another, to reference back to C-3PO, another skill play. You need to know if it's a matchup where if I've got the shuttle in hand, I need to make sure it's owned, or I can lead with C-3PO and go for the extra cards. Because you can come back, C-3PO on turn 1 feels like maybe you're not doing what you need to, but you can play 3 1-drops on the next turn. You can play a 1-drop and a pilot. You can use those extra turns to get back to where you want to be with a bigger board. But Sanctioneer Shuttle was one of those things where I had, it took out lightsabers, and they may have killed it right after it got rid of a lightsaber, but that was a huge tempo play. I could also just, turn a race into not a race, because now, you weren't getting the 3 damage you were expecting to get. All you can do is claim, and then, you can claim and swing back in, but now I've just got the race going, and I'm good at that point. You also don't know if there's a Falcon, a Daring Raid. There's a Cassian, from the Smuggle. So Sanctioneer Shuttle does just a whole lot of work. And it was one of the cards that Kazuda Red doesn't have, right? That I was real happy to get into this list. Lake Country does. But then Lake Country doesn't have the red cards or the Tarkin Town, which was really good into the Han matchup. Now, the card that probably is the most questioned card, Never Tell Me the Odds. And I had to go back and listen to the stream because everybody kept laughing. They're like, never tell Matt the odds, never tell Matt the odds. And they really liked saying that. But you guys know I'm a board game player, and one of my favorites is Blood Bowl. You guys know about Blood Bowl? Anybody ever play Blood Bowl here?
I didn't play it. I know a couple people who did, though. They love it.
I absolutely still love Blood Bowl. I love football, probably because I was raised in Tennessee. I'm all ball. Go Balls. Okay. I don't know if you guys are Michigan State fans or Wolverines. I think I asked you all. I can't remember. All right. Well, so you guys were pulling us on before Ohio State demolished us, so I appreciate that. Sorry we let you all down. But to get back on track here, sorry, guys. Never Tell Me the Odds is like playing open fire, but instead it reads roll a d6. On a 1, you deal 3 or less damage. On a 2 or 3, you deal 4 damage. On a 4 or 5, you deal 5 damage. And on a 6, you deal 6 damage. So only a 1 are you really doing less damage. And the amount of math I did to make sure that was truly how the card functioned was a lot. And I did a lot of math, a lot of double checks. I pulled, like every other day, I was going over to the I think I may have bumped onto my keypad here to make sure. Sorry about that, guys. I left my key in my pocket and I just set my Jeep off. And I was like, But the math was, I've talked about it a lot in many different places. There's more even cards than odd cards in a deck, but not by as much as you think. And the average turned out to be, and I went through SWU database. I would look at SWU competitive hub, and I would just go through there and I'd just count. And I'd just count, and I'd count, and I'd count, and I'd just average them all up. And it averaged out to about 27 even cards, 23 odd cards for the average opponent's deck. Well, my deck is going to be 3 and 47. using that math, that's how I determined those numbers. And that's where Never Tell Me the Odds, ultimately made it into the deck. Fun fact, I've said it to other people. Open Fire was in the list up to about 25 minutes before deck list had to be in. And then I switched it back. I was like, it was one of those things where I was second guessing myself. And then I just told myself, no. You've done that in the past and you've regretted it. Trust your gut. Go with the card that you've done the math for. And I was very happy that I went back with Never Tell Me the Odds.
I think my question on our podcast when we went over this list is why you don't have 3 Never Tell Me the Odds and you only have 2 in your deck.
So to answer that question, you really want threat density. And, you've already got the 3 Daring Raids, you got the 3 Swoop Down, you have the 2 Never Tell Me the Odds, and the 2 Jam Communications. So a fifth of your deck is not threat density. And you could argue that you could spare one more card. People argued with me about the number of even cards, and I think moving forward you'll have to. But it's so close and so tight. Like I did have a couple of games in the tournament where I drew a Jam Communications and a Never Tell Me the Odds, and I was like, man, I really wished one of these had been a ship. So that's the answer to that, because Swoop Down is the better removal card. It really is. All right, that's the answer to that question, because I think I heard that. I think it was one of you guys' podcasts I went back and watched. I was listening to a trench deck, right? Somebody was talking about their trench deck.
Well, that would be ours. So we are the trench deck loving podcast. So
it seems fun, and I would definitely love to hear more about trench. So I was like, I'm gonna have to dig back through here and find out some more, because I just always, I didn't realize from the get-go. And sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I was like, why has trench got to pay 3 to flip just because I get a card? Oh my gosh. I did not realize right away that it was not an epic action.
Mm-hmm.
It took the first guy flipping it again on me, and I was like, you flipped it before. And they was like, yeah, it's not an epic action. I picked that card back up, and I was like, reading comprehension is so important. Okay.
Yeah, we
game
will,
players don't read. It's fine.
we will have we are going to have a trench only episode in like it'll be like 2 or 3 weeks. Like we have another person that brought trench blue to Worlds, and for
stream.
She was on stream, and for one round, she was in round 2. She was the number 1 player in the world with trench blue. So I messaged her. I was like, "Hey, we gotta hang out and talk about it, because the Secrets of Power, I think, actually enhances trench." So we're waiting to see if we get a few more reveals for it, and then we'll dive into it. But
plot's going to be really nasty with trench when you can just continue to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It probably feels tailor-made for trench. You guys were probably salivating as soon as you saw that plot mechanic.
Yep.
And then that brings us to the 5 drops, which I think most of them feel pretty self-explanatory, but I will go back over. Han has his moments, it's everything you want in a card. All right. It does it all. It ambushes. It hits a ship, and if that ship's the Millennium Falcon, it takes out another ship, so it's removal when you want it to be. But it played in every format and every version throughout the tournament. Han hit the ground. Han jumped on a ship. Han did a lot of work, and one of my favorite cards. As soon as it was spoiled, I was just like, "This is a really good card." So, I think that card speaks for itself. Plo Koon was the one that people seemed a little surprised about, and I was like, I don't know, have you not been Plo Kooned before? It's like,
why are they surprised by that? You automatically almost always get the 6.
And I don't know if it's just because people have a problem with going, oh, your space deck. Well, yeah, but you still want to interact on the ground. You still want removal. And have you seen what that guy does if he doesn't go away? He hits for 6. I mean, I don't know. That card seemed really self-explanatory to me, and so does Poe. Like the Swiss Army knife of everything. And he also changes the complexion of a game. The number of times where I flipped Han and then just played Poe as my next action and watched my opponent go. I was like, yeah, that's a card. I know. And so it changed their whole lines of play because now they have to almost immediately claim because that guy can't swing. You can't let that guy swing. So he did his job. He is a split with Cassian. You'll notice there's 2 and 2 of those, and that's because there's not a whole lot of room in the deck. And I was telling you guys, actually at this point, I'm not sure if I mentioned it here. I did all my testing myself, me and a spreadsheet. I didn't know about SWU stats at the time. My friend was laughing at me throughout the course of the weekend. He's like, "So you spreadsheet all that?" And I was like, "Well, yeah. I mean, what else was I going to do?" So looking at the math, it was almost split between the number of games where I marked Cassian was key, Poe was key, and it was like, I can't go 3 and 1 on these because there's too many times and it's just so evenly marked that these guys are just good in every version. So, in fact, those were the next cards. Like, if I could find a way to squeeze in, I would want another Cassian and another Poe. They do a lot of heavy lifting. And then that brings us to the sideboard, which there was some whiffs there, some total whiffs. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Before we get to the sideboard, so we're gonna not talk about the sideboard. I have a whole segment. Okay. I'm gonna ask that we ignore the sideboard for now because the sideboard opens up like a million questions I have. So
okay.
I'm gonna say we're gonna push the sideboard for a few minutes, and talk a little bit about it in a few minutes.
Can do.
All right. Alex, did you have any other card quantity questions?
I mean, no. I was just like, I like the swoop downs. In like worst case scenario, they do just give it's a 1 cost. Your spaceship now has Saboteur to get past their Space Sentinel, which people don't realize that like you don't actually have to attack the ground unit to get the Saboteur. So that's always nice. But yeah, I mean, like it's kind of what I would expect from like a Han Tarkin Town kind of deck. I've been playing a lot of like blue Kaz, so like it's roughly similar like play styles where you're just like, yeah, you want the double 1 drop on turn 1. Obviously, you can't play like a Leia because even number. Mine, I have the Leias because you can like Leia, ready a resource, drop 1 in space, and have dual threats. But yeah, no, I like this. I did play like Han 4, like Lake Country for a while. That was fun. But yeah, it's cool. I'm glad that like it did so well.
Me too.
Because people forget like that this Han is also actually really good. You can go really, really fast if things are right.
It's got a flip turn comparable to Boba. In fact, there was a couple of times I argued, especially after, I didn't argue, but I flipped it over and I did that, and my opponent's like,
that just get all the resources back.
That seems terrible. And I'm like, yeah, isn't it better than Boba? Like, he only got 8 of his 10 resources. I got all 10 of them, man.
Jesus.
You time walk your opponent, basically.
Yeah. I mean, and that's one of the things that's different about this game that, immediately drew it to me when I did it too. It's like, I don't know if you guys ever play Commander in Magic, but, you have your commander that kind of dictates how your deck flows. We have your leader and your base. So those are like cards that start into play. So that's different advantages you have. So the Tarkin Town's huge because I immediately have 3 damage for a damaged unit. But you have this inherent advantage that you get to start with and know about and just capitalize on. And I think that's one of the things that was really cool about that flip turn. It's like, oh, I got a time walk in my pocket, and I'm going to play it on turn 5 or turn 4. I'm just going to play it, and it's going to be really good. It's really, really good. Thanks for letting me do that. So,
yeah, it's very funny. Just to do a bunch of like play a Falcon and then like Han Pilot on it, smash in there, flip your Han Pilot, play a Poe.
Yeah. It feels as good as it looked.
All right. Well, let's talk quickly about your run. So it looks like I'll bring up day 1 run first, and it looks like you lost immediately to a Han2 blue, and not just like lost like 2-1. You got 0-2'd in that, and then it looks like later on you did also play a second Han2 blue, and you lost that one a little bit closer. That was a 2-1. But it looks like, I guess the Palpatine we don't even have to talk about. I understand why you win that one. Like, I don't think if Palpatine wins that one, I don't think you deserve to make day 2. I don't even know what a Palpatine would do against like a 7. That one can't even run bombing run, But I think the interesting one is you played against a Kaz. Well, that was a Kaz green, so I don't even know about that one. Maybe that's the same guy I beat too. If it was, he probably was very demoralized. But it looks like you played against Han to green and won. You played against Akira and a Cad Bane, all which could possibly be, like good matchups for the opponent, right? Especially that Cad Bane. I think that Cad Bane, I found that Cad Bane, anything into other Tarkin Towns, Cad Bane likes some of that because they play them a clunky, recycle, and then most of their units are ambush. Now, you don't have to worry about ambush because you're never on the ground, except for your C-3PO and your pose, right? Like, you're going to lose both of those. So tell us a little bit about your run for day one and kind of some of the standouts where you felt this deck is better than the other decks.
Just to start with the Han 2, the difference there was he was running the 3 main deck entrenched, and jam communication does not get entrenched. All right. He also led with the Grogu both games to start. And it was just, the second game, first game was just absolutely the way he wanted. The second game, I was like, okay, I think I've got this laid out the way I want. He's out of cards in hand. He draws his 2, but I have action. So what do I lead with? Jam communication. Let's just make sure that's not a force throw. And what was it? It was an entrenched. Sometimes it's not your day. So he got that one, and that pretty much ended it because I had a Han on the Falcon that plus Falcon. The other ship, would have finished it off. The argument could have been that I could have attacked, but the crazy thing is he still would have been able to deal with the other ship. I forget what he had to hit it with. He had something else he could hit it with, and then he could entrenched Han on the Falcon, and I still would have been out of gas at that point. It might have been a closer game, but I still felt like it was the right line of play because I was a little more afraid of the force throw because he hadn't played one yet that game. And I thought, so that's odds are. He'd already burned one entrench, so I was just playing the math on that one. Palpatine, it was as I had done a lot of testing against that, not on purpose because I told you I tested a lot on Karabast. I played a lot on Karabast. I think people were saying it was good against the Han 2s, and I can see that in certain circumstances. But I don't have a single loss at all on my spreadsheet to Palpatine. So that was just fun matchup. You Sanctioneer shuttle in that matchup is insane. You're like, oh, is that a super laser tech? Well, he's going to hide under my shuttle, and you're not going to get the resource from it. Fun day.
Yeah.
Stop ruining our Palpatine.
Hey, that's why we play red. We could actually play bombing runs and open fires and actually take care of things like that.
Or yellow, sneak attack legacy run can do some work. And then especially, you can do it earlier because you can still throw the legacy run and pop it at will for an extra point of damage of your choice. Mother Talzin was where things surprised people. And we had a local Mother Talzin player, Lucas. He's newer to TCGs, but he's a really good player. And I got to play a fair amount against that. It was really popular online, so I played a lot against it there. I found that Mother Talzin was actually a fantastic matchup. I think Vader 4 gave them a false sense of security because they're like, oh, I'll throw the Force away and kill one of your ties, or I'll kill one of your other guys. My ships got back. They bring some toughness with them. And I found that the Mother Talzin match is really good. The turn where they flip and they want to start turning aggressive, they can't because I'm usually so far ahead at that point. Yes, they have the Force throws and the Force lightnings, but Force lightning usually eats up their whole turn. And if I went wide, Force lightning's not as great as it looks. All right. If I'm trying to go tall, it's fine. But if I play a Falcon for 3, it still takes 3 to take it out. And that's also where Tarkin Town could come in because I could use a Daring Raid in Tarkin Town, and I could buy the first 2 turns where a lot of times they wouldn't have the Force, and that changed the whole complexion of that game. So in fact, I think if we go through my record, I don't think I lost to Mother Talzin at all. I think I played 3, if I remember correctly, maybe 4. But they were matchups I really enjoyed playing. One of the matchups I expected to play, which I'm actually surprisingly good into, but didn't, even though it was the second most played deck, was Vader 4. Didn't play a single Vader 4. So there's that.
The second most popular deck too, which is pretty wild.
I know. It was always sitting beside me. It was always sitting beside me, and I was like, okay, well, maybe someday I'll play that. But it's one of those where my ships match up better. So usually, on that turn 2, turn 3, my ships are clobbering all ships, and now they have no board. and then I'm just going to push home the advantage the next turn when I flip Han, and it's just I'm light years ahead. Now, Cad Bane is a fun matchup. It is a very interactive matchup, and one of their key cards, as you already highlighted, was McClunky. And this guy was a fantastic Cad Bane player, but Cad Bane is also very popular in my local meta. There's a couple of guys that just really love it. They're very good at it. And in fact, the weekend before this, we did a Carbonite Win-A-Box tournament, and I brought Han 4 to that. And it's always fun when people go, can I read your leader? I mean, what is this guy again? Oh, yeah, okay. But I played Cad Bane 4 twice. Or Cad Bane twice, Cad Bane Tarkin Town, and won both of those. I didn't lose a game to it. It's a lot about attrition and card advantage in that matchup. You have to do that. Also know that you can't get frustrated when you think, oh, this game's going long. They're going to hit Cad Bane. Things are going to go south. You're just eking in the damage. You're finding the right spots, and you're really trying to capitalize on that Han 4 flip. So, one of the lines you can do there in that matchup is you can sandbag a couple of 1-drops with a 3-drop. And then you can play your, 1-drop, 3-drop, flip Han, and get 4 of those resources back, right? And if something has managed to stick through those early turns, well, you get all 5 of them back.
Yeah.
So you can really set that up to where they think they're in it, they've got control of it, and they don't. So they do have a lot of ambush. Plo Koon still does a lot of work in that matchup. Poe is still a great diversionary tactic, because if they don't have the answer for him, or they have to devote a lot of resources to deal with him, it'll get them. And if I remember correctly, I don't know where my life pad's at because I always write down how everything was. I think it was game 2. I got a Poe off. Poe landed and he couldn't deal with Poe, so Poe hit him for 9. I got to use the Han's ability, flipped a different number, swung in with Poe, and discarded a card, so it was 9 to base to really close that game out. From there, we had Han Solo Worth the Risk. That was the one where, if I remember correctly, his game 1 was he mauled and it was bad, and I just had perfect. My game 2, I mauled and it was bad, and then we played a real game 3, but it played more kind of the way he wanted it to than the way I wanted it to. It was close, but I think I remember it being double Luke into a force throw that just kind of put that away. I dealt with the first Luke, but the second Luke plus the force throw just kind of. It's like, that the restore is going to do me in. And then I ended on, there was the Han 2 Green, which was what a matchup. That's always a crazy matchup. Blue leader. And that's one of the other reasons that I love Tarkin Town. I absolutely take Tarkin Town and take down a blue leader, even though he ate one of my ships, because he's not sticking around to take down another ship. So that was a nice answer that Lake Country doesn't have, because blue leader just really gets you there. And if I remember correctly, I think this might have been this matchup, one of the Han 2 matchups. It might have been at the end of day 3. They did the ambush in and then drop it to the ground. But so it took one of my ships out. But at that point, it had 3 damage on it. I think it took a Falcon out, if I remember correctly. It might have been another one with Boshek. But then I bamboozled it.
Yeah, that worked.
Yep. Hey, look, bamboozle's removal. What do you know? So that was fun there. And then I ended on Kira, and I'm sure he sat down and thought that was a wonderful matchup, because I think a lot of the Kira players do. That's another reason I love Kazuda Red. Kira, Data Vault. Let's play. That is a matchup I really enjoy. I think that 33 gives them a false sense of security. As long as you don't barrage me, you're in a world of hurt. So that was the day 1 run, and it was nice. Hey, day 2, you made it. I was hoping the Han 2s on the next day would go a lot better, because it sure felt rough day 1. And I thought, man, did I miss something? Did I make a mistake? Looking over my life pad right before I went to bed, and I was like, no, it's exactly what you expected. They had above average draws. That makes it harder for you to win. And, if that's the way it's going to be, that's the way it's going to be. So you control what you can control. That's one of the other things card games teach you, in games in general, right? You don't always control all of it. So you just make do with what you can control.
Fair enough. So moving on to day 2, it looks like you won every game except for the Quinlan Voss matchup. So you got your revenge. It looks like on those Han Solos. So, especially when they play the two different force bases, so they're not even playing the same force base. They're just playing different blue force bases. So you got revenge on those Han 2 blues. And I'm actually the one I'm more interested in is the Kylo Ren, because it was a data vault version. Is that just similar like to the Kira version? Like they just sit down, feel like that false sense of hope? Because like when I was playing, it was kind of the funny thing when I was playing Vader Yellow in Richmond. Before that was like a big thing. They like the Kiras would sit down and they're like, oh, you're gonna win, or they sit down and they go, oh, I've won against you. And my Vader 4 never lost to a Kira. Period. Like, I just never lost to a Kira. And it's like I play Kira, so I know what the tricks are. Like, oh, they put a super laser tech down. Okay, I'm going to steal it. Oh, they put that stupid shielded ship down. I'm going to steal it. Now in Vader, you don't care about her flip turn as much unless she hasn't spent her resources. And then you care. But then that's what swoop down's for, or that's what, like any of these other, you can play all these other different cards that just like kill Kira. And it's like, all right, go ahead and flip Kira. I'm just going to kill her right away. Kylo doesn't flip till like such a late game. Does it just like not matter really? I guess let's talk a little bit about the Kylo matchup, because I think that's kind of like the hotness right now is people trying to make Kylo work in different colors.
So if I remember correctly, this was Stevie from KTOD that I played, and so now let's start with the elephant in the room. This was open deck list day, right? That was the news I woke up to, was that all of this was going to be open deck list. And I thought, ooh, I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it is what it is. You're just going to learn to live with it and move on. So we sit down, we start looking at each other's deck list. And so for Stevie, I noticed he's got 2 overwhelming barrage and 1 no glory, only results. And I was like, oh, okay, well. And that changes the complexion here quite a bit. And to be fair, I think his list was built sort of for the meta I expected. I felt like he was designed to take advantage of the Han 2s. He was designed to win the mirror, the green, blue, black villainy mirror. So that's where I think he was at. And then I'm not a matchup he wanted. He won the first one, but he hit an overwhelming barrage. Not having drawn a lot of cards, and I'm putting all the pressure on there. He manages to forgot what he played, but he was able to hit the barrage on it, and that pretty much closed the game out. And I missed the jam communication on that, but after that, it was jam communication in. It was the Chewbacca's in, the only game where the Chewbacca's came in, which and then we'll talk about that later. Like you said, that was a total miss. But in that case, they were in there. Did I draw them and need them? No, I did not. In fact, that was part of the argument towards that was a complete miss on my part. The other 2 matches just felt just phenomenal. It was just played the way I expected them to play, and it was smooth sailing on that one. And then I get the Sabine player, the only Sabine player I get. In those matchups, as you know, if you've ever done aggro versus aggro, especially with Sabine, she has a huge advantage with Rebel Assault. If she can set it up, Rebel Assault gets her action economy. A lot of times in that matchup, it looks bad to start until you have right at the flip turn or right before the flip turn, when you never tell me the odds or open fire plus swoop down and just wipe their board. And then all of a sudden they're like, I guess I still have ECL, but he has nothing on the ground. I don't know, so it's it's one of those things. Also, if they're not cognizant of what you're doing, or even if they look at your list, sometimes they make the mistake. They really think that they can play a ship on 1, and then since I'm playing 2 ships, they'll have action. They can drop Chewbacca or another space unit like Luke, and that's going to give them space superiority. And then you're like, let me introduce you to my friend Sanctioneer Shuttle. Ooh, felt bad. And so that's a lot of how those Sabine matchups. In fact, I think the first game was the never tell me the odds into swoop down, just wiping his board. And then game 2 was the Sanctioneer Shuttle on the A-Wing, the red one that's got raid. When I put his Chewbacca on it, and I was like, I was like, and here's Sanctioneer Shuttle. And the look on the face was, that was game. So that was Sabine. Then we get into the Han Solos, and they didn't have the amazing start, right? I felt like both of my opponents looked at their hand, felt, it's not where I want to be. I feel like I remember one of them mulling, one keeping it, and then telling me afterwards they wish they had mulled because they didn't really exactly have what they thought they needed. And they were kind of a little confused by the matchup. Advantages to playing something non-meta, so to speak. And then the Mother Talzin deck, I was so happy. And I was like, yay, Mother Talzin, not Han, yay. And that just felt wonderful. And then Boba Fett 4. For most people, they're like, oh, you're on a 25 base. That's got to be a scary matchup. And I was like, have I ever introduced you to Han Solo on the ground? His backside is a 7. Yeah, he's got a 7 butt. Baby got back. And so he can soak up a lot. The Falcon bounces. If you don't pay the 1, the Falcon goes back to your hand. So it takes a lot of indirect damage as well. To give that player credit, if I remember correctly, his name was Yami from Brazil. I think he made day 3. He seemed to be a really good player. I'm pretty sure that game 1 was a jammed communications on Barrage that sealed that one. Game 2, because I think that was a 2-1 one, or did it? No, it was close. So I remember now what that one is. I thought I was going to lose that one because he set it up perfectly to go Ruthless Raider after I wiped his board and then dropped the Boba on the Ruthless Raider. And then I was like, yeah, and here's the Cassian plus Daring Raid. And it was just one of those where, the line looked like it was there. For a second, I thought, oh, yeah, it's the one I lost. I was like, no, I won that one, but it was so close. But he was a really good player, and I think it surprised them too. I'm sure they probably looked at it and thought, oh, he's 25 base, or the little ships are going to soak up a little. And fun fact, I played a lot of Boba 4 on Carabast, and I had found out early on that the one drop of choice there was the Y-Wing. Love that little Y-Wing. That 3 butt sucks up 2 damage, which is huge because with indirect damage, you control where it goes, right? So, you just got to make sure you do your math correctly and don't play into anything like Boba flipping onto a ship and dealing 4 damage however it wants, or overwhelming Barrage doing a whole lot of bad things against you. Oh, and then Junior. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the Republic Y-Wing is like a little sneaky little ship, just being like a 1/3. In Kaz, it's nice because Kaz is like +3/+3 when he flips. So you bring it up to a 4/6 and you can't be like taken down. So like sometimes that actually just like it's an unassuming ship that can do like a lot, especially in like Han where it actually gets the extra attack and has a spot for like Boshak and things like that.
And it trades great. It's one of the cards I really like against the Vaders as well, right? Because if they play a lot, anything else, it's like, yeah, I'm going to attack that and still be around here.
Take out 3 TIE fighters.
And then we have Quinlan, and I have nothing to say but great things about Junior from the Bothan Network. That was who was piloting Quinlan there. That was the first time in a long time I felt outskilled, outclassed, outplayed. I mean, it just any which way you want to cut it. He felt like he looked at my deck list, started to put his phone away, and then he looked at it one more time, and he's like, "I'm just going to race you." And you're going to like it, and there's not going to be much you can do about it. Where I think a lot of Quinlan players get into the trap of, oh, I'm the control here, and that goes back to Magic, right? One of the older Magic articles is, are you the control, or are you the aggro? Knowing your role and playing appropriately. And I felt like he just, I don't know, I felt like the best Quinlan player in the world, and I was always like, I hope I don't have to play him again for the rest of the tournament, and that's with Wu sitting beside me playing Quinlan too, going, okay, maybe I don't want to play this guy either. He seems like he's doing the exact same thing. A lot of people were like, well, isn't Cad Bane just as bad? But, Cad Bane, you have a little bit more control than against Quinlan. And then with Quinlan, you absolutely want the double 1-drop draw against them. And I did not have that.
Ooh.
Did not have that. I'm old and looking for it, and I did not get it. And it makes a huge difference there. It lets Quinlan be a lot more powerful against you. Whereas if you can do the double 1-drops and they don't have the answer, it can give them some space. But they have the A-Wings too. So, right, you do 1-drop, and they go, A-Wing, that's fine. It looks bad. It feels like it may be bad for you, but then you can Tarkin Town it away. And a lot of times you're not going to get to Tarkin Town the rest of that matchup. There's a couple of random matchups where you never use Tarkin Town, and you're like, did I just hard mode that for no good reason? So. And then I ended on Mother Talzin after taking that loss, and it just, I sat down against Mother Talzin in my mind. I was going, thank you, Lord, for letting me have a Mother Talzin to end the day, because I absolutely was not worried. And I didn't say that to them. I don't know if I conveyed it to them, but I sat down and I was like, yes, thank God, this is what I wanted to end the day on. So that was day 2 in a nutshell, and I was like, woohoo!
Yeah, and
works out, right?
It does.
Yeah, because at that point, then you were only 2 losses in, no, 1 loss in. So at that point, you have to be feeling pretty good because you don't have a million. You can lose another game and still not feel super bad, which is funny because you then did lose another game to Ian, and then you got matched up a second time with Ian in Top Cut, which reminds me. So when I played Han to Green last set at a PQ. And normally I'm a control player. Like that's normally what I do. I did dabble in aggro with Vader, but like normally I play control. So I played in what's his name? Man, I can't remember the guy's name now. Alex, help me out. Come on, you remember the Cad Bane? It's the guy that plays Cad Bane all the time.
Oh, Ray-Tan.
Ray-Tan.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I go into round 4 or 5 against him in a PQ, lose. Like I took 1 game off him, lost the other 2, and think, okay, no big deal. Won my next one, ID'd for the last round, and then all of a sudden turned around and in top 8, figured I wouldn't have to play this guy, but nope. Opening hand, top 8 had to play Cad Bane Tarkin Town, and I was like, all right, and that ended my run right there. That was like, oh, you're just done. But so I see you lost to the Kylo Tarkin Town. We don't have to talk about Pelp because again, I understand the logic and like what Pelp can do with the legacy run, and we did cover that deck last week. I do think it's like kind of neat. Like it is their take on Pelp was kind of a little neat take that we hadn't seen a ton of before. But the funny thing is you lost. You beat a Kylo Data Vault, but not a Kylo Tarkin Town. So what's the difference between the Data Vault and the Tarkin Town? Like why is this Tarkin Town one so hard? Is it just because you didn't know what the deck did, or is it because like that deck is just a bad matchup for you?
Bill Burr. Oh, Miggs Mayfield.
Miggs, yep.
Yeah.
That card is really rough to play against. So it's not, I felt like you could look at the list and see that you're on a clock, but they're the control. Like I know I'm the aggro, they're the control, but it's a question of can you do anything about it? And Miggs says no, unless you have Daring Raid. Even then, they have the potential to switch around and be aggro. And it's just like playing against Junior, playing against Ian. I felt like they were able to look at my list and go, okay, yeah, I get what you're trying to do here. This is what I need to do to be competitive with it. And he also, game 2, Ian grenade striked me to start. I had the double 1-drop match. And it was like, what do you do? Right? You picked. It was an opening hand that also had a Daring Raid in it. So it's like, okay, you got Miggs, I got a plan. So double 1-drop had the Miggs. If I remember correctly, the other card was C3PO. It was like, okay, this is the hand. This is the hand you want. And then he's like, oh, let me introduce you to my friend Grenade Strike in Tarkin Town. And I was like, yeah. That's not the end of that matchup, but it feels bad. And that was one of the things that I took into it. Like, I didn't want Ian again until later. I was hoping that if I had to play him, it would be top 4. And then I heard one of their teammates made it, and I was like, maybe I'll get lucky and they'll play somebody else that's a bad matchup. But, they didn't bring that many, and 2 of them's in top 8, so, it is what it is. Ian's just a fantastic player. He felt like playing against Junior. They just looked at the deck where everybody else might have looked at the deck and struggled. They looked at it, knew exactly what was going on, knew what their deck needed to do, and then just performed. And also, I do think it's a bad matchup if you don't account for the Miggs Mayfield. And I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but it was questions, that I've been getting on the KTOD forum. And, there were some ideas there from the back, when I was originally going through the list and trying to fine tune the cards. And one of them, I think his name was Dark Quickiest, is on the KTOD forum. He went with, he's like, hey, what about the X34 Land Speeder? And I was like, oh yeah, that's the perfect answer. It's an even cost card. And you guys mentioned it earlier. You really don't want to get past 6 even cost cards. You even mentioned Leia earlier, and Leia was in the original version because she's one of those, she puts something on the ground and exhausts something, or she counts as another 1-drop, right? Because then you can play her on 1 and ready something and then play a ship. So she does a lot of work too. Ultimately, I found out I'd rather just have the Mining Tide because it drew cards. but it's not impossible. You have a little bit of room to work there, just depending on what you're wanting to do. I would absolutely play the X34 land speeder because here's the thing: it takes out MiGs, it sticks around, and unless they burn their Tarkin Town, you're going to run it into the next thing they play, and then you're going to Tarkin Town. And the reason I had liked it before is it's great into the 2 drops on Han. Right? They play a 2/4, you're like X34, Tarkin Town it, boom, let's go on, let's keep moving. And so it kind of functioned the same way as the Daring Ray did. And in hindsight, yeah, I should have absolutely had it in the list, but I was trying to minimize the even cost. Same thing with where I only did it on 1 bamboozle, and you'll want to talk about that later. Should have been 2, but whatever.
Yeah, so that's fine. We can. I don't think like the Kylo matchup it feels kind of like a bad matchup, and I will agree with you that X Speeder is amazing. We were on that in Quinlan back when last set. Like that was what we were using with Quinlan because it just was easier to be able to take out a shielded unit because you could just ping it and then you still could do your 2 tech and then you could Tarkin Town it if you need to. You can either take out something that has 6 health. Or you could take out a shielded unit for the most part, because I don't think any of the shielded units have more than 4 health for 2 resources ever. So you could still squelch their turn 1 play with it in Quinlan. But yeah, let's go on to the sideboard. So we have your sideboard up. You had 2 Jedi Starfighters, you had 2 Fang Fighters, 2 Chewbaccas, which 1 Radiant 7, 1 Bamboozled. And then you had the 3rd copy of Never Tell Me the Odds and Jam Communication. Those ones I understand. So like I do get like why you would want the 3rd copy of those. I also questioned why we only had 1 Bamboozled and you had 1 Radiant 7. Why the Radiant 7? Like
Radiant's cool. I love that card.
Sure, it's great, but it is the highest cost card in your deck. A. B, how often are you ever playing it? And C, what like who did you bring this in against? Like
it's really good in Nahan, presumably.
Stevie and Kira. So against the blue, green, black villainy so that's where it's back with the miss. The 2 Chewbaccas in the Radiant 7 is the blue, green villainy matchup, right? It's for that matchup right there. Because what the Radiant 7 does, and it's actually surprisingly good against Han late game 2, is if you get into that little bit more of a attrition game, you can drop it, and if they send it to the units on the board, all of a sudden they're not swinging for enough to continue the race, or they take it to the face, and a lot of times they can't. Or right after a super laser blast, if you manage to make it to that point where things have went, it was sort of kind of a catch-up card if you were behind, or a finish-off card. 7 is a huge ask in this matchup, and as you rightly pointed out, it's the most expensive. And I tried real hard because that's something Lake Country did that I did not agree with, was all those 7 drops. But they also didn't have the reach. I don't feel like they capitalized on the flip turn as well as this deck does. And I could be wrong. Some Lake Country player may come back and say, you're absolutely wrong about that. But I played it a bunch too, and I felt like the 7s were wrong, which is why you'll notice that was the only one that made it there. I have an updated board already at this point, and there's no 7 drops in there. It stops at 5 like it should.
All right. And then the Chewbaccas. Okay, we'll skip the. So I understand the Fang Fighters. We know that why you put those in there. That's kind of an easy thing. How do I remove shields? How do I remove other upgrades? How do I remove other pilots? And the Jedi Starfighters. Our assumption is that it's just because it does that extra damage, so it's for the Vader matchup, the Vader pilot matchup. But I don't know. Other than that, I don't know what you use it for. I guess it helps with Tarkin Town.
It is one of those. It is a great answer to the Vader 4 matchup, which is already really favorable. But it was the other last minute addition in the fact that I really couldn't decide how heavy people were going to come on space because I knew it was the place to be, and I like to make the assumption that I'm not the only one that figures things out. So I was like, there's probably going to be a fair amount of space players. I've got the spots where I can move back and forth, and it took a bamboozle spot. Okay, it also took the other Radiant 7 because I ultimately was like, I don't know if there's going to be that much blue, green, black filling. I think there's going to be some. So it took the bamboozle, the other Radiant 7, and it became the 2 jet fighters. They were really, really in there for any space matchup that you may have, which, yeah, I played a lot of those. Wait, no, I didn't. So they were the other big miss. So, and here's the thing, having tested that a lot, I went back to my notes and I was being a little paranoid. And this was just me being bad and not trusting my gut. They shouldn't have been in there. They really shouldn't, because I went back and looked at my Vader 4 matchup. I had lost 2 to them. And in both cases, it was double victor leader from them. I'd never tell me the odds one. They'd play another one, and they managed to use that to capitalize and get to Vader when they would barrage. And that was what my note said was, if they have double victor leader, you may lose this game. Both of them said that note. So does the Jedi Starfighter do anything about that? Well, it can, right? It gives me open fire, never tell me the odds, or swing with the Jedi Starfighter, deal a point, and then I can Tarkin Town to keep it off the board. So it was me being paranoid about that and putting them back in. But if I really should have trusted my gut, known that it was a good match to begin with, and not wasted spots on it. Because second bamboozle would it have changed the outcome against Ian? Probably not. Like, as you guys pointed out, I didn't have the X-34, so the MiGs do a lot of work there. But having a second bamboozle could have been hot. So.
Yeah, especially because you could discard it. So now the Chewbacca. So are you just saying Chewbacca's not worth it? Like it's just like not running them anymore? I mean, because it is like you don't play it on the ground ever, and which means you're only playing it in space, and it's like a 5. So I guess it makes sense. Like on Han's flip churn, you can utilize it pretty easily because you can play other shit and then play Chewbacca last, and now they've got a Han ship and a Chewbacca ship they have to deal with, and that makes sense outside of the fact that it's still like you're holding on to this one little card that you got to keep in your hand and not do anything with, and that feels weird to me, I guess.
It's another 5-drop. It is. It's what it is. It's a 5-drop. It's for the blue, green, black villainy matchups because it leaves them with very limited options, especially where I could jam. I could have jammed before, saw the hand, realized they didn't have it, and realized that ending with Chewbacca on one of the Falcons is a fantastic spot to be. It doesn't always have to connect for the 3. It's the fact that it causes everything to survive unless they do no glory only results. That really kind of makes that better. Or if they have a big unit with overwhelming barrage. So once again, it was definitely part of the blue, green, black villainy package for giving a better answer. Because let's be fair, Poe's great in that matchup, but Poe dies. He always dies. They always like, oh, let's go kill the dragon. Goodbye, Poe. I don't know. I just had in my notes was Poe was miserable in that matchup, even though I know if it could just hit once, it wasn't. Whereas Chewbacca was fantastic in that matchup. Every time I played it, and there was a point where Chewbacca's remained because it felt like the last 3 days or so, while they remained, it was just always blue, green, black villainy, blue, green, black villainy. And it just, they made their way to the board because I felt like once I started looking at the numbers, blue, green, black villainy was going to be a percentage, but it wasn't going to be that big of a percentage.
So where's your sideboard at now? I guess, so if we can ask, like, if you're, are you still on Chewbacca? So you said you want a second bamboozled and a second radiant, which makes no radiance. Oh, you cut the radiance. Okay.
7 drops are gone.
Okay.
You really need to push the turn 4 flip. You really want to push that. The card that I think is the big one, and so free tip here for everybody that is looking to continue on this is System Shock. System Shock out of the board is a 3-of now because it combos. It takes out those shielded units. It combos with Tarkin Town, right? So you can get the smoked sausages, the Secret Sage. I call them the smoked sausage. Or it gets Director Critic. So it'll pop that shield, it'll do a point of damage, and now you Tarkin Town it off the board. And it's a 1-drop, right? So it combos with all the other 1-drops. So it's another play you can make a 1. It was showing up at Vegas. I had a little box with me that had all the potential sideboard cards that I was cycling through. I was going to do that one of those, let's just mosey down there and see what everybody's doing for a little bit, see if I see anything or hear any talk. That just comes from playing other competitive events like, Pro Tours at Magic the Gathering. So it was just like, okay, let's see, And at no point did I get back to System Shock. And maybe I should have. But I had also had in my notes where the smoked sausage wasn't that scary. It gave him the force, but I really wasn't as keen on dealing with it or having to deal with it. But the way some of the format has switched a little bit, I actually think it is a better card than maybe I initially gave it credit for. So it ended up back as a 3, 2 bamboozles. There is the other X23 is in the board. One of the swoop downs went to the board as well. And then, so the X34, there's 2 main now and 1 in the board. I'm still not a huge fan of the card, except for against Miggs or Bill Burr, whatever you want to call him. But it's nice to have that. I'm still trying to minimize the evens because, despite what the commentator said, Han's ability only works if it's a different odd cost card. It cannot be the same odd cost card. A number of times I went back and saw that on stream where they're like, oh, he's going to be able to swing with his 1-drop ship for an extra point of damage. And I'm like, no, I revealed a 1-drop. It has to be a different odd cost card. So, but that's okay. I know nobody was expecting it, so nobody had read the card. It's all right. I get it.
All right. Fair enough. So, I think, I'll be honest, I think that hits quite a bit of detail. I don't know, Alex, do you have anything else you want to ask before we wrap up his run and everything?
No. It's real solid. I can see why it catches people off guard. Like, we have a local who just started playing a couple weeks ago, right? And he picked up the Han Solo deck, starter deck, and he's taking games off people too, just because it can go. The starter deck is one really solid for a starter deck, but dude's just you just activate it, you just swing. It's space aggro, so people playing the Force kind of get a little iffy. He gets a whole nother turn when he deploys, so he's just slowly getting packs and stuff and adding to the deck. Now he's on Data Vault instead of the 30 health green base they give you, so that's even more annoying. But it's really fun. Yeah, I like Han 4 a lot. He's a very solid card, or solid leader, and you could do some cool things with him.
As I mentioned briefly earlier, if you've played any amount of games, if there's any way to game the resource engine and gain an extra resources, right? You always seem to, if you can capitalize that, you usually, you're at a huge advantage. And shocker that time warp, taking basically what feels like an extra turn is going to win you games. Oh, yeah, no surprise to me, which is why, when I saw his ability, Han was always on my radar from the moment he was released, because while I thought it was crazy, his activation ability, that was not the selling point. The selling point is his flip ability. And so that's, it was always trying to figure out if he had a home, if he had the right cards to support it. And, I felt like, the weekend came for it to be the right choice. So.
Yeah, and I think going forward it's still fine. I don't think people are going to tech against that. I don't think that's the deck you want to tech against. Because I don't know. Again, bombing run is scary, right? Bombing run is scary, but you have jam communication. For example, in villain, we don't have that. The Vaders do not have jam communication. You have Bazine, but that costs 2, and that's a ground unit now that people can do stupid things against. And so I think that's one of the big differences. After I played in Richmond, we were teching Bazines in. I didn't think about that and didn't put that in there. And then after, people weren't running bombing run back then, so it was great. But as soon as people started seeing, oh, this Vader list is not something to be ignored, people started teching bombing runs in. And I'll be honest, I had bombing run on the side of my Han, and so I had to only play one Vader, and that was my round 2, and I won the first game and didn't have the bombing runs in there. And then the second game just kind of felt like a cakewalk, because it was I'm just gonna add these bombing runs in now. So I'm sorry, man. Don't, you better kill me before 5 resources, because if you don't, it's just over. I can wipe your board twice, and I did. The second game, I wiped his board twice, and it was just very sad. I felt bad for him. I was sorry, man.
Well, it's nice also about heroism space is they also tend to have more health, right? Your Falcons both have 4 health, so they can actually kind of live through a bombing run. Especially if you put pilots onto your other smaller ships, Boshak just randomly gives 2 health, and that's not irrelevant.
Yeah. No, it's not. It makes a huge difference, and that's one of the things that I learned against bombing run. If you don't have the jam communication, it's about watching the health and prepping. It's as you're playing, which ship goes out, which action do you take, and there was a couple of times where, I had jammed the turn before, no bombing run. I'm like, well, he could still draw at that turn. But, you're playing a Falcon out there. It'll survive the bombing run, right? So, or you could go with the C3PO, and then you could go with the Daring Raid and Tarkin Town something, because that's your 4 resources. So you live with the jam, then you went to the C3PO to draw a card, right? It's just setting up for the next turn and giving you a little leeway in case they did draw the bombing run. Or sometimes you jam communication and go, oh, that's a bombing run. Okay. That one Han player where I left the bombing run in his hand, I knew his head probably exploded. I took the force throw, but the Falcon was already big. And I was like, okay, bombing run seems sweet, but it kills one of my ships, so you can keep it. And it costs you 5 resources. I'll take that force throw so you can't throw that Luke Skywalker at the Falcon.
Yep. So, all right. Well, thank you, Matt, so much for the deck tech. We will be very interested to watch and see how many people glom onto that in the future. So we're going to move on. If you would like, you can stick around. We're going to talk about season 1. I think we're going to talk about season 1. That's probably the new hotness. So for anybody watching at home, let's talk a little bit about season 1 play. So essentially, FFG released, and hopefully I got the article. I think I have the article up too that we can look at. But FFG released a new go-forward plan for competitive SWU. Now, I played Destiny, so we talked a little bit about that at the beginning of the show. I played Destiny. We didn't have any of this point systems, but Destiny was always a dying game when I got into it. So I don't know what to say. Like, it is what it is. And it's funny because like people are like, oh, Bobby Sapphire is like, yeah, I remember Bobby Sapphire. He was the guy that broke droids for FFG. So like he was the one that did that. So I know who Bobby is. Like they were breaking card games back in Destiny days, and thankfully this game is not as broken as Destiny was. And I will just say, if you remember being able to play R2-D2, C3PO, and Chopper all in one list, and then you basically could activate all 3 of your units at one time and then interact with your own dice. That was when Destiny was its like second most broken. So yeah, but we're gonna talk about season 1 for SWU. Essentially, they kind of released a organized play structure where you're going to become and get a point system. So that you can play into the Galactic Championships. Now, the first question I'm going to ask is Matt, did you get points for being in the top 8 for next year?
I did. I got 100 points, so that means I'm qualified. So that was nice, knowing that that's in the bag.
So now you don't have to play at all, right? Like you could just take a year off and come back and then hopefully be really good, right?
Right, yeah, that always works out, right? Skills don't atrophy. Knowing what's going on in the meta, that doesn't take time to catch up on. Yeah, I'll just take a vacation now. That's great.
So they essentially they're doing 3, or they have 3 different qualifying abilities. So they are not including Store Champs. Store Champs is going to be a completely casual event, which we can talk a little bit about that. I'm a little sad that Store Champs doesn't give you some points. I understand wanting to keep a casual experience for the casual player, but what it will do, in my opinion, what it's going to do is it makes Store Champs less desirable to go to unless you want those chase cards, right? Like it's great practice, but like if you were to tell me I have a planetary next week and a store showdown the same weekend, what do you think I'm going to attend? I'm going to attend the planetary.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think I don't. Again, I like having the casual piece for the casual player. I do like that, and this is where we're going to talk a little bit about the point structure and some of the issues I feel could go into this. But essentially, if you go to a regional, they're going to have a total of 3 regional events, so that's not very many. There will be 9 sector qualifiers, though, so that is, I think, 5 more than what they had last set. It's either 3 more or 5 more. I don't remember if there was 6 or 4 last set. So there is more sectors, and I hope to God we get one like in Indiana or something like that, so that me and Alex can go down to that.
Somewhere actually slightly close.
Yeah, because I drove to Richmond, just so you know. Like I drove the 12 hours to Richmond with a couple of buddies in a car. So that was one of the longest weekends of my whole life, ever. And then obviously they're going to have 510 planetary qualifiers, which I think is up like 200 over what they had originally had before. So that is that part of it is exciting for it. They're all open, but they're going to change the Galactic to be invite only. Now, they did say they're still going to have a day one play-in, so that is still going to become a thing. So I'm happy that they're keeping that piece of it, because that's like, that's always been an FFG standard. Like back in the day, like you could play into Destiny, you could play into X-Wing, those different type of things. And that's nice to be able to give anybody that doesn't have an opportunity to grind tournament events the thing. Now let's talk a little bit about the point system here. And then we could talk about why they're giving out more than 100 points, because that's even more crazy to me, but I guess it makes sense. So for a PQ, if you win, you get 100. But then if you come in second, you only get 35. If you make top 4, you get 25. And if you make top 8, you get 15. So technically I owned 45 points last set, I guess. So I have to do a little bit better if I want to make day one. At the sector qualifiers, they start at 250 and then they kind of go down from there. So if you make top 16, you're going to get 50 points. If you make top 8, you're automatically qualified. If you move on to the regionals, essentially, if you make top 16, you get 75. Top 32, you get 50. Top 25, or 64, you get 25 points. So guys, what do we think about some of the points setups for this? They feel a little different, especially if you can only make so many PQs.
It's really annoying and hard to get a top 8 at a PQ. 15 points doesn't seem like a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they've probably done the math, and they're trying to control the amount of people that show up to Galactics, to Worlds, whatever we want to call it. But I don't think they have to invent the wheel here, right? Like, I mean, you have other competitive card games that you can pull information from and look at. I don't know. I've looked at it. I'm not entirely sold on it. I get what they're aiming for, I think. A PQ should always qualify you, right? A win should qualify you. And there was a point in time, in Magic the Gathering where you had your ratings, and your ratings could qualify you. And that was a good thing too, because if you played against really good competition, you only got to play a couple of events, but your rating was there, you still got invited. And I think that should be a thing too. I think you should be rewarded for high quality play. But man, that still takes a lot of top 8s to, you go to 5 top 8s. That's what, 5 times 8. Okay, that'll get you qualified, right? Okay. What, 4?
Still got to go to 5. PQs,
yeah, right,
too, right?
Exactly.
That's a lot.
I went to 3, and let's just say in my old age that if I have to drive more than 3.5 hours, I get cranky. I was really disappointed with the first one that I had access to, which was the South Carolina one, because nobody's fault. The flooding hit, it washed out the interstate between how I normally usually get to South Carolina, and so what was, when I signed up for it, about a 2-hour and 20-minute drive had become a 4.5-hour drive, which I was planning on doing after I got off at work and packing. And I was just planning on it being a quick, I could either do it in the morning or a quick overnight and meet some friends down there. I didn't do well. And part of it, just poor prep on my part. I should have looked at it better and decided that that's not something I wanted to do. I only got to go to 3. The Knoxville one, which is great. I can wake up, roll out of bed, and drive down to where it was at. The South Carolina one was miserable. And even the Georgia Duluth one, that's about right there at the limit. I went and stayed with a friend the night before to cut it in half. But I get where you guys are complaining. I would, hopefully it's more access for people, but I don't think the points do exactly what they want them to do yet. But, it's season 1. So, hopefully, I feel like my experience with FFG is they're learning from stuff. Everybody kind of gives me a side eye when I say that. So maybe they don't, but I feel like my experience so far, they have been.
Yeah, they 100% have definitely been. They've changed things a lot quicker than they used to in the past, comparatively. I mean, like Alex and I both come from X-Wing. Alex longer than I have, and they're listening a million times more than they ever have. We'll put it that way. Ever.
That's a win. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I guess technically I went to Richmond, so I guess I would have gotten like another 25 points, but still, like those were like long grindy days, and it just, like, I understand trying to limit this. I think the bigger thing is the other thing that we haven't talked about yet is you get to continue to add points, right? And then whoever has the top amount of points are going to be given flights and hotel rooms to Galactics next year. Now, while that's great, and I understand the logic of that, like, you want to grind and do all these things, you're going to. I will tell you, being in a PQ and then like having the play experience of having to play Raytan twice and losing both times to him and getting knocked out, like, I lost my last chance to win a PQ, and therefore, like, now all of a sudden I'm spending all this money, and like, so now the problem is they're now incentivizing people to do that, and I'm not a big fan of that part of it. You know, like, I understand, like, let's play on a competitive level, right? Like, let's continue to do things very competitively. But the biggest issue I have is, like, so now you can go to these PQs and you can just run the gambit on them. You just hit all of them. I'm going to go to all these. I'm going to hit top on all of this. I'm going to knock all these other people down. And then I get my free flight and my free hotel room. And what it does is it feels like it makes it a little bit more exclusionary. And for those of you who don't have kids, like, it makes it even easier because you just be gone every weekend. Like, I was asked, hey, are you going to join the circuit? Like, I was literally asked, are you going to go to this one over here in Iowa? And I'm like, no, like, I live in Michigan and I have 4 kids. Like, this was like a stretch to come here. You know, like, if I were single, sure, if I were single, that's probably what I would do, is I would actually figure out where people live and go to people's houses, because I could just work remotely most of the time. And I would just work remotely. And then I would just go to every PQ every weekend and have fun. But I'm not single, so it does not work for my life that way. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? So now let's talk a little bit about, you know, like, the points accumulations. Like, is this something, you know, that's worthwhile? Is it something, I mean, especially for you who've already made a top 4, is that an encouragement to go to more PQs this season?
I'll answer first. No, for the same reason for you. Part of the reason why my test system, the way I approach the format has always been, you know, I have a kiddo, right? I have a family, and they're important. You know, no card game should be more important than your family. And it's one of those things where, you know, even then I was probably reaching borderline when I was testing for Galactics, but, you know, they were gracious. They understood that it was important to me, and they gave me the little extra time and space for that. But that's not something I want to do every weekend. I don't mind getting on and testing. In fact, I think that's part of it. I try to play at least a couple of games every day, and I try to make them purposeful. But, you know, there's going to be some people that can capitalize on it. But every system, you can't design a perfect system. And I know that from project management. You're just not going to design a perfect one. I do think there's certain things you aim for, and you tweak the system to make sure you're going for your aims and your goals. I was hoping that, you know, like with, you know, if you'd done great at Worlds and Magic, you know, you were set. You know, that's one of those things there. So, you know, the fact that I still have to play and hopefully, you know, do a little bit better to keep the point totals up, that's one thing. Is it going to incentivize me to do that? No, I'll probably still go to the ones that I can. I'm not going to really push hard to go to ones that I can't, because, you know, I don't want to overstretch the family. You know, it's one of those things there. It makes regionals and sectors more appealing. That'll be honest. I didn't go to Richmond because, you know, that's a longer drive. It was a commitment. It was last minute when I found out about it. I probably could have made it work, but, you know, I didn't want to do that. It was just too rushed at the moment. Old age has made me want to be more of a planner and a preparer. So, not to get off on too much of a tangent here, it will. The younger players that can go everywhere and travel, it will incentivize them, I think. And that's great. For those of us that have set responsibilities and duties, I don't think it changes much for us. Because, you know, using what did you say you'd end up with? About 90 points if they had awarded points last time, which was still 10 points short of the goal. So maybe it does incentivize you to see if you can get one more swing at it. But, you know, I don't think it changes your overall approach on things, nor would it change mine. Other than I'll probably try, if possible, to make a regional if it's within reach.
Fair enough. Alex, how about you?
I am single and don't have like a family or stuff to do stuff, but I'm like broke, so I also just can't go.
We forgot to mention something, huh? My bad.
Yeah, I just don't have the money to drive out and do all these things. I mean, it's cool. I'm glad they increased the number of PQs and all that stuff. So like we can kind of do more, but also like that's a lot of commitment to like go and try to grind out all these points and then have the money to do that and the time and all that stuff. So I'm not apprehensive. It's just like it's a lot.
Fair enough. The last thing to talk about season 1 is they are now introducing a new type of event, a draft event. And I'll be honest, I'm a little excited about that. I'm sad because the first one in our area for a PQ is at Chicago. And it's the same day as the one in Whitmore Lake, right? And so it's a little bit hard for me to want to go. I have another circumstance too, but it's a little bit hard for me to want to miss out on one I can drive like an hour and a half to 2 hours to, and then go 3.5 hour drive, right? It's a little bit hard for me to want to do that. And for like Alex, it makes zero sense to drive all the way the fuck up into Chicago when he's got 1.5 hour from his house, you know? But they're going to do the same thing. They haven't released how the points are going to work. I'm assuming they'll be the same, or how the whole event will work. And that's why I want to go really bad. And I hope, like, I'm actually hoping maybe Evolution Games, theirs will change in Lansing, and maybe it'll become like a draft one, or maybe a sealed. I don't care which. Actually, I really like a sealed better. Like that one actually feels better than a draft.
I love sealed so much. It's my favorite. Second favorite format now, I guess, behind Trilogy. But
yeah,
I'm weird. And
we might get a trilogy event at some point. And I'll be honest with you, I think trilogy event would be like they should award more points for that. Like, give me a trilogy PQ. Let's do that, baby, and let's like double the points. Like give me that, because like that's like the ultimate. I know how to build decks and play into the meta type thing. Like that's like you could even kill sideboards for all I give a shit. Just give me.
We don't have sideboards in trilogy.
Oh, okay, even better then. I thought you did have sideboards.
No,
we don't have sideboards?
You have to win with both decks, so like you never have a chance to side in stuff.
Yeah, man. So Trench, Iden. Yeah. Let's see here. Trench, Iden. Who else
they
are we
share
gonna
vigilance though. You can't do that.
All right. We need
but it's like Trench by Kaz Blue, and I can do like my Ray Blue. Oh, well, that's got vigilance.
No, that's got vigilance.
I can do so many things with trilogy. It's so silly because my decks are just all over the place.
We can
play every style.
Help Tarkin Town, Kaz Blue, and Trench. There you go. Like now you've got the gambit. Do you want hard control, or do you want to face aggro, or do you want to face my soft control that gives you a middle finger every day?
If I presented like both Trench and Palpatine to my opponent and they're my local, I think they just give up the round. I don't think they choose. You don't understand this Trench deck. It doesn't play the game. The win con is your opponent just ran out of cards to play. It doesn't it tries to mill. It doesn't always mill. It just like stalls until you have no deck, and I have infinite deck because I have triple restock.
Yeah, think of it this way, Matt. It's Iden Blue, like the Iden Blue from set 1 and 2. It's like that, but worse. It just says like, I'm going to literally spend 30 minutes making you do absolutely nothing, and I don't have to mill you if I don't want to. I'm just literally going to make you do nothing. Now I will say it does not super like that Han Ford deck as much. Yeah,
it main decks triple out maneuvers and triple entrenched and triple frozen.
Yeah. So anyway, let's not talk about our trench deck for a million hours.
You can system shock your own ship, right? You just have to take a point of damage. So we've got more removal now than we did.
That's true.
Damn it! All right, hold on. We're gonna cut that piece out of this episode. I don't want people to think about that.
Just play a fine edition. Just throw it right back on. Easy.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's kind of our discussion on season 1. We've got some spoilers and some secrets of power reveals. So let's talk a little bit about those. Because I'm a little excited, and Alex, we have to hold the trench talk because we are going to have a whole episode about trench. So let's not go, oh, that would be good with trench. Oh, that would be good. We're going to tame it down a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, I like all the stupid things.
Because we will be having a trench on the show. And I will tell you, so Matt, just as an FYI, Alex was our scum player in X-Wing. I don't know if you know anything about X-Wing or not, but Alex was the guy that had the stupidest weird deck. And so the last Worlds we went to, him and I, we revealed his deck on the podcast before we went, and then he ran into a listener who knew how to counter his list, just because they listened to our show. And so it was awful because they're like, oh, hey, I know how to beat you. You're Alex from Pally Face Syndicate. And it's like, fuck.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Lots of people have that name. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not the Alex that you seek.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Secrets of Power. There's the reveal. We are getting a new Cassian. I can almost feel it in my soul.
Sure we will.
We're getting a new Cassian that actually might be good, and I'll be very excited for it. And that'll be a main deck thing that we get to play. And I hope we get a C-3PO leader too. I will just say that right now. Give me a C-3PO leader, the same way we had in Destiny. So I would like that. All right. So do either of you know the mechanics for the Secrets of Power? And do you want to cover them instead of me talking 24/7?
I remember plot, but I won't steal Alex's thunder. I think plot should definitely be covered. No. You get cover. I'll take. Was it connive? Is that the other one? I think.
Disclose.
Disclose. Oh,
yeah,
so close. I can talk about disclose. I saw that one and I thought it was cool. You can have plot.
Fair enough. So plot is a keyword. It's when you deploy your leader, you can play that card from your resource row, paying its cost and then replacing it. So it's a little bit like Smuggle, but it's only when your leader deploys. So sometimes you get multi-deploying leaders. There's one of them so far, and that might be interesting. But it doesn't work for things like Poe Pilot, because that's not actually deploying, that's attaching. So that is something to note. So plot's going to be interesting. It's going to be really hard to balance around, I feel, because you have to make the plot cards good enough to put into your deck, but not so good when you deploy the leader, you just instantly win. So we'll see how that mechanic works.
All right. Go ahead.
Because I was really disappointed we didn't get more Smuggle. I saw Smuggle, loved that. I played the World of Warcraft card game back in the day where they had the quest. And so I saw Smuggle and I was immediately enthralled. But, considering the resources they had for testing, Smuggle really scared them. They had problems, I think, balancing or making them, as good as they should be. Cassian seems like the perfect hit for Smuggle. Tech always felt like it was too good. But then again, it doesn't seem like it's taking everything over, but it sure does some damage when it hits. So plot, I think they were like, oh, we can balance Smuggle by saying it's just when you deploy your leader. Except for they did make a leader that you can deploy multiple times. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, some unknown leader. Never heard of him.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, don't play Trench, folks. Don't play Trench.
It's going to be interesting to see how plot works, right? Because you have one dedicated leader in the starter pack to plot, and one dedicated leader to the other mechanic, disclose. Kind of, it's like disclose and discard, so it's even better. But yeah. So Matt, tell us about disclose then. What is disclose?
So disclose, at least the one that we've seen on attack, it says you may disclose, and it has 3 symbols. And the disclose makes you reveal that many symbols from your hand to activate that ability. That was the way I understood it. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe we got Cyril Karn was the one that they revealed, and you had to disclose 2 aggression and 1 villainy from your hand to activate his ability. And, if you made that disclosure, then you had another effect that occurred.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a really cool mechanic, and I like that. Just design space wise, I hope they get really wild and have 3 different symbols that aren't villainy and heroic, just to really mess with people. But probably not, because that'd be really niche.
It would be very careful there. Yeah, so essentially the source material is going to be Clone Wars again and Andor, which is I'm tentatively excited for this Clone Wars thing because it might actually benefit some of these set 3 leaders and things that we have. So there is a possibility that we could get other things coming that could benefit some of the other leaders. Last month or the month before, they had an article that mentioned how they felt some of these sets were designed very weak because they didn't want to over test it. This might be allow them to kind of correct that a little bit. We don't know yet, right? Like, because we don't know what you don't know, but I really love the Clone Wars is like one of my favorite times in Star Wars history, and stuff like that. The themes behind it are politicians, spies, assassins, and intrigue. So the assassins part is where I'm very interested in, especially if they come up with some sort of assassin that is a plot card and can do some crazy things. Like, I hope we get a lot of cool shit around there. So as you can see, these are kind of the cards that they spoiled. We're going to go over the leaders in just a second. These are the new mats that are coming. So as you can see, there is a Senate mat, which now I feel like I need that to play my Palpatines on. I have a million effing mats, but now I feel like I need that mat. Or you could just get the Palpatine mat itself, right, Alex? We just get that mat, and now we have a Palpatine mat to play on. All right, who wants to take the first leader? Who wants to take Padme? And basically what you'll do is you read the card, tell me about it, and we'll go from there.
I'll go. So Matt actually has like an idea of how we do
Okay.
this, right?
All right, good.
Yeah, so it's Padme. It's a yellow heroic card. Her leader side is when you reveal or discard one or more cards from your hand, you can exhaust this leader. If you do, deal 1 damage to a unit, which is kind of cool because, like, if I force throw you, I actually like take a damage in my unit, which is cute. She is a Naboo Republican official, and she flips on 6. She's a 3/8, and then her ability is when you reveal or discard one or more cards from your hand, you can deal 1 damage to a unit. It's the infinite kind of thing, like a Django or a Quinlan or whatever.
Yep, a little scary. She has 8 health too, so
Yeah,
she doesn't come out till
she-
6 though.
She's got those Akbar stats, the
Yeah.
3/8 yellow official thing. So just put a bunch of hotshot blasters and lightsabers on her. It'll be good. Just like the
Baby
movies.
got back.
Basically. I also like the artwork with the Barris sitting behind her, just kind of like glaring. I'm assuming that's Barris, unless like the lighting's just weird and it's actually just her.
It's probably just like a handmaiden.
Just a handmaiden.
I don't know.
It does look like Barris. I give you that.
I'm sure it's not, but you never know though, right? Like, I can't remember. I'd have to go back and watch the show again because I don't remember Barris ever appearing with Padme, so I don't know.
Good point.
Where's JJ? Where the fuck is JJ when you need him?
He's our Star Wars lore guy.
Yeah, like I don't think, like, off the top, I don't think this is horrible. I think obviously the disclosed
It depends
piece
how much
and
disclose, right?
Yeah. We get like, and on average, I think we did the calculations before. There was like 9 to 15 is like the range of cards usually developed for the different traits. So we didn't do one last set, I guess. So I didn't calculate it out last set, but I do think before that was kind of when they came up with the new. I think it was between like 9 and 15. So I think 12 was the sweet spot.
At least like the 1 damage isn't like backbreaking, right? Like, it is free for disclosing or discarding or whatever, but it's still only 1 damage.
Yeah, but Tarkin Town loves 1 damage. I don't know. It seems to me, I saw her and I thought that could be very powerful. The fact that it triggers on discard too, so I don't know. I'm very curious to see what she has support wise, how that develops. I think she has a very, very big potential there, especially if disclose is above average as an ability.
No force throw ban. Well, yeah, go ahead, force throw me. I'm gonna throw a damage and then Tarkin Town you. How about that, baby?
She has kind of minor synergy too with like the J-type Nubian ship, right? Because that was like hers. So like when that's defeated and she crashes, you have to discard a card. She does 1 damage or something. That's kind of funny. Or like the fellow Deller, dude. What is it? the delegate, favorable delegate.
Yes. Yep. We used to run him all the time. That guy was fun. I love that guy. All right, let's move on.
Did.
Yeah, Heckbar really did. Yeah. Let's move on to Chancellor Palpatine. Matt, tell us about Chancellor Palpatine.
So
this
Chancellor
is the third
Palpatine. One. Yeah, but he's such a great character, right? You know, he drives the story.
He's in like all the movies.
Yeah.
All of them. Yeah, there we go. So how Liberty dies. His ability, he is a vigilance villainy. I always want to just call it the color. Sorry.
I mean, blue-black is totally fine with us.
Okay. Blue-black. He's blue-black. Good color combination if you're a Magic aficionado. Action, pay 1, exhaust. You'll search the top 5 cards of your deck for a card with plot, reveal it, and draw it. So if you're a plot-dense deck, seems like a lot of card advantage there. On deploy, which happens on turn 7, so with 7 resources, you get to deploy him. When deployed, the next card you play using plot this phase costs 3 less. So right up my alley, right? You're talking about resource reduction, or so a resource advantage, so to speak. Seems quite powerful. So depending on what the plot cards are in this set, this could be a pretty big ability.
I think the big thing is making sure you get to that 7 resources churn. It feels very much like a Kylo style ability that they gave him, except for instead of discarding, you're playing plot cards from your resource row, and you have to play under curve all the time. So, which is not usually a problem if you're a control deck. Like, it's not, the control piece of that is not the end of the world. At least until Power of the Dark Side rotates. When that rotates, I don't know what we do, but
or resupply. But you know, he's got a big body. He brings out 6 attack and 8 health, so that's pretty impressive too. That's a pretty good stat line.
Man, he's sitting on a chair on the throne. So I'm assuming his prestige card is going to have to do that. So I'm going to buy another prestige card, because you don't know this, Matt, but I buy the prestige cards of people sitting in thrones.
Showcase.
Showcases. Sorry, not the prestige cards. Yeah, the showcases. So I have the Emperor Palpatine. I got like Hero Boba. I got Wat Tambor. I need a Snoke from this set.
That's not
working on that one.
Okay.
But yeah, I just like people sitting in thrones, because I find that hilarious for like a card game where everyone's fighting each other and you just got dudes just sitting there not doing much.
You got to have your druthers, the things that you like. So hey, that's a mild kink in the grand scheme of things.
But he seems pretty cool. Again, it really depends on like the power of the plot cards. But if you have like a 10 cost plot card, and then you flip them, you can play them on the flip, which seems wild to me.
I bet you we are going to get some crazy thing. It'll be like some capital ship. That's what it's going to be. Or it'll be like, it'll be a new Anakin going to the dark side where he just turns crazy. And it's like, he's got ambush, and he's going to be like ambush, and he's going to have the Maul effect where he can hit 2 players at once. And then he'll have the mace effect where he can ready again. There you go. That's the Anakin I want. FFG, I hope you redesign that card. give me a plot card with that, so I could just play that shit right from my resource row and wipe my opponent's board.
It would be a really interesting design space if they have a lot of like high cost plot cards, right? Because that would like force you to like deploy your leader later than you normally would. So I think that'd be kind of an interesting design space. It's probably still not the correct thing. You just probably just don't run those cards in your deck, but you know, there's space there. It's cool.
Unless you're playing that guy, Chancellor. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to do it anyways.
That's how he always is. So
right.
All right, let's move on to a couple of these newer cards. So we have Cad Bane. Are you impressed with me now? Basically, he is Underworld and a bounty hunter, so that's kind of cool. He's blue villainy 5. He has a plot keyword. He has a win played effect that says you may defeat a unit with 2 or less remaining HP, and he's a 4/5 for 5. So he's okay. I do think like he fits into making Cad Bane blue a thing again. Like, you can now like look at blue and have some more bounty hunters. For the plot, I don't know. Like, Do I care if I kill something with 2 health? I don't know. Personally, I don't
if
think
it's like
so.
a sentinel on your leader flip, but that's kind of about it.
Yeah.
Palpatine can play him for 2, so that seems pretty nice, which is probably why he's in the starter set with them. But like, that's the kind of the problem with the plot cards, right? He's like a 4/5 for 5, which is not good stat wise, but killing something with 2 or less health is okay. Like that devastating gunship did the thing, and that wasn't irrelevant. But also
That's
things
true.
with higher health now.
Yeah. I like the Ahsoka in handcuffs in the background. Like, I want that card just for that stupid little image. I don't know. Anybody else? I don't. I'm not super high on this as of right now. How about that? Like, I don't see this fitting in super well outside of obviously the Palpatine thing, but
Agreed. I wasn't immediately impressed by that. Not the same way I was with Cyril and his disclosability.
yeah. All right. Well, tell us about Cyril's disclosability there, Matt, since you brought it up.
I didn't mean to jump ahead. I was just,
No,
I saw
go
those
ahead.
cards
Go
while I
for
was
it.
waiting.
That's
so
the whole
on attack.
We aren't subtle about our weird transitions. Go ahead.
So on attack, it is a 2/3 for 2. On attack, you may disclose 2 aggression, 1 villainy, and then that means reveal those cards from your hand, at least that many cards with that many symbols. And then if you do, choose a unit. You get to deal 2 damage to that unit unless the opponent discards a card, which to me seems super powerful. Like I have, same reason that I hate MIGs at the moment. Thanks, Bill Burr. No, actually, I love Bill Burr. But in this case right here, it's that 2 damage, and it's the same reason. Like we were talking about Kit before, Kit Fisto before Galactics. 2 damage it's not pinging, it's like plunking. It's like smacking them in the face or something. 2 damage is a lot in this game, and it can control a lot of the field. So I don't know. That ability seems pretty hot. I feel like my opponent's going to be discarding a lot of cards. So discard may be more of a thing after this. Please get rid of Force No FFG.
Yeah. So you
can pair it with MIGs and have really, really fun things happen and deal 4 damage places.
No, I'm going to have nightmares tonight. Thank you.
I have a question though. So they have the 2 red and the 1 black, right? So like if I have a double red card and I reveal it, does that count for 2 of those icons, or do you have to have 3 cards? So. Okay. So essentially, you just have to reveal 2 cards for this, and you're fine. Unless they make a card that has all 3 symbols on it.
That would be wild.
Yeah, that would be wild. That'd be a good card.
Maybe it's a new aggression.
Yeah, I mean, they could make a card with like double red aspect and a villainy 1, but then that would just be like an every single like mono red villainy deck, though, right?
And it can go into the dark side. You guys already described it, right?
Yes, I'm all for it. Okay, so this card actually seems pretty good then, right? Like that does seem like a pretty.
It is non-attack for what it's worth. It's not like a 1 blade, so you have some potential. Like they can kill it, but also if they don't kill it, you can do it multiple times. So that's pretty cool.
I thought it was a powerful effect. Yes, you got to get the attack off, but I think it's worth the try.
Yeah. I guess I'll take the new token unit for this set. It's a spy. It's a 0/2 raid 2 official token
for 0
unit. Yeah. Got one of the Twi'lek ladies on there.
Yeah, I don't think this is very good, but whatever, I guess.
I mean, things generate spy tokens, right? It's a token. It's kind of funny when you attack them, they just can't fight back.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. I mean, it's more token things. There's a card that generates them a lot, so we'll see.
I mean,
all right,
and it's official.
It's an official, and that could be beneficial in a Padme deck somehow. We don't know.
My Emperor's Royal Guards,
that's
true. Protect them.
That's true. That is true, actually, Alex. Like that. Like if we could figure out how to generate tokens, like you could just turn on Emperor's Royal Guards like turn 2. Like it just immediately becomes turned on without having to worry about anything.
Also, let's say there's a card with like maybe like when you an attack with an official, things happen. There's an official right there. That's the spoilers for card later we're revealing.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. Alex, I'm going to let you have when has become now because you brought that up to my attention before. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, this card needs a day one errata immediately, or else this thing is the most busted card they printed. So when has become now, which is a really awkward statement. It is a 1-cost villainy card. It is a trick, too, so...
You can pull it with Java.
You love Java.
I do.
So this is play a card with plot from your resources. Put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. It critically does not have an if you do clause. So this is just a 1-cost, like just play the top card of your deck and ramp into your resources, which I'm sure they will change to if you do. Which seems better because also you need some sort of way to play plot cards, presumably, without your leader. Because you could just like flip your leader and they have immediately die. So you only get like, well, I guess you still get your plot off, but like there's got to be some other payoff for playing plot, right?
I think it was supposed to be part of the reminder text and it got messed up. I honestly think that was what was supposed to happen there, which was why there was no if you do clause.
Yeah.
I think it was just supposed to all be in parentheses and italics saying that, that was reminder text. If you play plot, that's what happens. But they didn't do that. So, yeah.
There's something critically missing from there.
Yeah,
exactly. Just like, let's not have a 1-cost ramp.
Let's just change the whole aspects of this game now.
It's turn 2. I've got 6 resources. Don't really worry about it.
I like it. Give it to me, man. We'll Palpatine all day long, baby.
I'm deploying Palp when you're deploying Kaz. It's okay.
The new double red Anakin. This is fine. We're all fine here. It's okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's nice that they have things that like you can interact with plot outside of just deploying your leader, or just play a leader that deploys a lot, and then you can just always play plots.
All right, the next card I'm going to cover is I Am the Senate. It's a 6-cost green villainy. Create 5 spy tokens. My belief is this card will never see play. We never see play for many of the other ones. We have Scramble TIE Fighters. We have all these other crazy things. And, like, why? I don't know.
Sometimes you need a lot of spies.
I guess, and then I just bombing run it. You go ahead, play that, and I'll bombing run it. I'm already main decking it anyway, so might as well just keep doing it.
But I paid 6 to make 5 0-2s.
Yeah, and I just paid 5 and have an extra resource to give you a middle finger.
Exploit so much.
I wish it was better.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so we're gonna keep moving on because I'm not gonna spend any time on that. Matt, tell us about Armor of Fortune.
Armor of Fortune. Oh, that looks fun. It's a nice plot effect. Gives you an upgrade there. So it's an upgrade that when you play it, you get +3 defense. So no other requirements there. You just put it on your wonderful unit that you want to have some more defense. It costs 2. It's blue since, let's say vigilance. You guys said that was okay. But I don't know. It's another one of those things that there might be something that wants it. I don't know. Gar Saxon may love it. He may be like, hey, man, I was packing this in my back pocket. Surprise.
It's not too bad for like Kylo, right? Like you get 3
Yeah. Sure.
Also, it's literally plot armor. Do you appreciate that?
As a fan of Batman, yes, I do.
It is literally like you play this armor using plot. It's literally plot armor, so you last longer.
Well played.
Yeah, but it's okay, I guess. +0, +3 is. We have a card like that. It costs 1, and it's also an upgrade.
You know what it's good for? It's good for draft and sealed. There you go, baby. We say that all the time. We should be picking the card. This is a draft and sealed card, 100%.
But it is a free card, right? Because you played it for your resource roll.
True. That is true. It is nice because of that. I'll take Corrupt Politician. It's 1-cost green, black. It is a 2/2 Republic official. So now we have Villainy Republic officials. And while you control more units than your opponent, it gains Sentinel. So it is basically like the Gamorrean guards, but for a 1-cost, and it does nothing. So yeah,
like it's okay. Like if you're going like a really wide green villainy deck, which is interesting, I could see it in there.
All those spies.
Yeah,
Protect all the spies.
You can play I Am the Senate, get 5 spy tokens, have more units than them, get a 2/2 Sentinel for another resource.
That you could just at that point maul something in and run over 5 to base.
No, I can make 5 units instead of playing maul.
All right, let's
Crop Politician's okay. I don't think it's bad, but
it's awful.
It's very niche.
It's like that stupid Starfighter that's that 2/1 Sentinel in space or whatever.
I play that in my Lando deck because I can give it a shield when I play it, and it's a little annoying. This one not so much, but we're good.
All right, Matt, Alex, you're next. Pick another card. You can pick one of the ones. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I have to go with Jar Jar, right?
All right. What is Jar Jar? He's
an official now. Yeah, so it's a green Jar Jar. He's a 2/1 for 2. He's got the Naboo Republic Gungan and official traits, so that's a lot. When played, you may give another friendly unit +2/+2 for this phase, and he has plot. So I guess you can. I mean, like playing a leader and then giving it a +2/+2 is not super bad.
Yeah.
He costs 2 resources. He's a 2/1, which isn't great, but
he's free with Palpatine, right? It's very thematic, right? Palpatine deploys. He gets to play Sith Jar Jar for free. I don't know. Seems pretty good to me. Just kidding.
But yeah, I think it's like a decently versatile card. You don't really want it as like your first turn play because it doesn't do anything. But like I can see it maybe getting play outside of just like playing it with plot.
Sabine might like it just for a turn. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's another like body you can drop and just give something +2/+2.
Or a Sentinel, right? Like it could do very well with a Sentinel piece because like if you put a Sentinel down, if you have a Sentinel down, like even if you have the Village Protectors and you put this down, like usually people are just going to scoop and go to the next round, and then it kind of gives you fair game, for that churn. I don't know. Like I found that like I've been playing. My nephew's been playing Kanan Blue, and sometimes when he just puts shit down, like sometimes you just go, all right, well I can't get through these Sentinels this turn. I'm out of resources. I'm just gonna claim and go to the next round and just forego damage. At least I get to go first. All right, Matt, you get to pick the next one. What do you want? Which one do you want to cover?
Well, I have to take my boy C-3PO. Come on now, can't leave him hanging out there. So he's a 1-cost green hero, and his action is to exhaust him and return him to your hand. And he gives +2/+2 for this phase. He's packing a 1/3 body, so he wants to be Salacious Crumb, but he's just not cool enough. Sorry, C-3PO. I don't like this version of you, man. You need to get your act together. Get your life together, pal.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. There might be something wonky with like droids and Pele and Babu or whatever if you're really trying to make some sort of crazy Rube Goldberg contraption. But yeah, I mean, it's a slow card.
Yes.
But if you find yourself having 1 extra resource at the end of the turn, it might not be too bad.
Sure, it can suck up indirect damage. There we go.
That is true. It can.
It gives me another unique named unit for Hunter.
Yep.
There you go.
Get your Hunter showcases now, folks.
And your Jar Jar Binks can help him out there too, from the plot, from the resource wall. There we go.
Yeah, you could Jar Jar Binks a C-3PO up to a 3/5, and then return the C-3PO to your hand, and then give Jar Jar 2/2, and don't do anything.
I took all these actions, and okay, great.
All right, so the next one we're going to cover is Fugitive Handmaiden. It is a 1-cost 2/2 Naboo only. On attack, you may discard a card from your hand if you do draw a card. I actually don't hate this. I'll be honest, I don't actually hate this card. I kind of like this because I like tutoring myself. I'm sad that it can't be played in Trench. I guess you could. It's a 3-cost trench card, but I've seen that seems bad.
It's also on attack.
Yep, exactly. So,
but it turns Anakin on. It turns Anakin on if you're playing Anakin's in there.
Yeah, I think Anakin gets turned on by all of the handmaidens, if we're being honest. But
oh yeah, there
sorry,
we go.
you walked me into that, baby. All right. So long story short is I actually don't dislike this card. Like I do think I think it's fairly costed, so it's not like going to be a broken card or anything.
It's a 2/2 for 1. I think that's really good.
Yeah,
just already.
Yeah, and like so I do actually kind of like this this card personally. Obviously it's designed to play with the new Padme, but I think there'll be other uses for this card.
Han 4.
Yep,
it's
that too.
costed too.
Yep,
so we can move back to the ground. We don't have to stay in space. We can go to the ground.
Yep.
And it's also a may discard. It's not like a mandatory discard either, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So I like it. I actually think it's a pretty good card for what it is. So
yeah.
All right, Alex, what's the next one?
I'll take this green Captain Typho here. So
with the puckered lips, he's going.
Yeah, I mean just like Kylo. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's Captain Typho is a 4/5 for 4. He's a green hero unit. He's got the Naboo Republic and Trooper traits. It is a Sentinel. And when this unit is attacked, you may disclose a green and a white if you do heal 1 damage from your base. So the C-3PO that you just picked back up to your hand to give Typho +2/+2 to make him like a 6/7 Sentinel also fulfills the requirement for every time he's attacked, you can heal 1 from your base.
Combo!
There, we did it.
But I actually think that's a pretty solid card.
A 4/5 Sentinel is still pretty good too,
right? Like it does cost 4, so it's like, well, you probably get more use out of like Chariot or something, but like a 4 attack Sentinel is pretty nice, and he'll probably heal your base at least once, which is kind of cute. I like it.
All right, Matt, you get Anakin. We're gonna give you Anakin. What is
set you up for that one?
What is Anakin, baby?
Anakin's the beat stick. He's a 3-cost cunning heroism, the 3/4, and he's hidden because, well, Jedi Council doesn't need to know what he's up to.
Yeah, those children never saw it coming.
Well, we're not there yet, but it's gonna happen. Now, while you control Padme as a leader or a unit, he gets raid 2. So 3 cost for a 5/4 if you've got Padme that's hidden, so you're not going to get a swing on it. I don't know. I was kind of impressed with that one. I thought there might be some uses for this guy.
He's also odd cost too. You could put him in your Han deck. Just kidding.
Just got to get the Padmes in there next too. So yeah,
you can. She's in there. Is she an odd? I think she's an odd cost too, isn't she?
She's not an odd cost. She's a 2.
She's a 2-drop. Yeah. Bummer.
Not that anyone ever has played her.
Not yet.
You will know.
But yeah, I mean, this Anakin seems pretty nice.
Yeah, I agree.
I do like it. The hidden is pretty relevant, and then just swing for 5 for a 3-cost unit, and also have 4 health is pretty good. And he's a Force and a Jedi, so you still got those synergies as well.
Yeah, and you can ECL him in, and he can take out a lot of stuff and still live. So
and can't be attacked back.
And he can't be attacked back. So that's pretty nice, actually.
Yeah.
All right. The last, we do have 3 more. Oh, we have 3 more. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, the next one we'll cover is I'll take Major Part Agaz. I don't know if that's how you say it. I get shit all the time because I don't know how to pronounce things appropriately.
Preaching to the choir.
So he is a 2-cost green villainy unit. He is an Imperial official. He's a 0/6, so it feels like Satine statistics here. He has Overwhelm because he can. When another friendly official unit attacks, this unit gets +2/+2 for this phase.
There's your Senate.
There's your Senate. He is obviously designed to work very well with spies. Like, that's what he's designed for. I do just like that he has 6 health. Like, I actually just kind of like that fact of it. I do not understand why even bother to put the overwhelm on. Like, what are you attacking for with your 2 damage that's going to overwhelm other?
It's when another one, they stack. So if you get a lot of officials attacking, you just keep stacking that up.
So once you become the Senate and attack with all 5 of your spies.
Yeah,
and then
this guy is
10, 16. I don't know why it gives you extra health. That's kind of weird to me, but
indirect
cool,
damage. He
That's
takes
fair.
the indirect damage.
And then I just bombing run it or force lightning it, and you cry.
That's fine. Hey, another Emperor's Royal Guard target though that will actually stick around through a daring raid Tarkin Town shot.
Yeah, that's true. 6 toughness is key there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing for him is because he's got the 6 health as he lives through almost anything. So except for a Quinlan X-23, it does not live through that. So just as an FYI, as you were saying, you didn't like those.
Quinlan X, plus.
I like the X-23. I love the X-23 or
2034. If they're blowing all those resources like killing my 0.62 drop at the first turn of the game, I guess that's fine with me. At a certain point, I'm just like, okay. On to turn 2.
All right, let's move on to the next one. What do you got, Alex?
Hey, Cadel Connix. I only remember you from X-Wing. you were a crew member who did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So Cadel Connix is a 3/2 for 3 red heroism unit. It's got the resistance trait. When played, you may defeat a non-unique upgrade. I don't know what it says. Oh, sorry. You may defeat all. Sorry. I can't read. I'm a card game player. You may defeat all non-unique upgrades on a unit, and she has plot. So
I think she's cool. Good. I think a lot of the low-cost leaders are going to like her.
Yeah, I mean, 2 health isn't a 3/2 for 3 is not great, but also if they're just loaded up, they're Kylos or whatever, and you just deploy your own guy, and then boom, or whatever. I mean, a kind of power failure. It does kill your own bounties though, unlike power failure, which is defeat any number of upgrades. Not that. That's a niche thing, but hey.
Mm-hmm.
But it's plot, right? So, potential extra card, which changes, power level and things.
So, I can dig it. It's cool.
All right, Matt, you get the last one. Who is it?
Oh, Marva Andor. She's about to give a hot speech. About to drop it while it's hot here. She's a 3-cost heroism, 3/4 rebel. Another rebel. Of course she is. When she's defeated, she gives an experience token to each friendly rebel. Like I said, she's dropping that hot speech. All the other rebels are ready to throw down. And, hey, for somebody in a chair, she's got a stat line. 3/4? Come on now.
Just passing out medals left and right.
I know.
This is like a Sabine. Sabine just takes this damn card and runs with it. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. Now, I don't know. I don't want to speculate on what Cassian's going to be. We'll do that in another episode. But my belief is we're getting a bunch more Rebel stuff this set to work with Cassian. That's my belief. I hope we get her robot. That's all I can say. But yes, I genuinely think she's a decent card. She's very well statted. She has a great when defeated ability if you're playing a Rebels deck. And at this point, with Sabine rotation on the rise, Cassian being the new Rebel aggro leader seems very likely. And I think she kind of fits right in. So I really like her. I'm not a Rebel player personally, but I never was a Rebel player in X-Wing. So.
She was the first Rebel unit revealed in all these cards. Actually, she's the only one that's a Rebel, which is kind of crazy. But I guess if you're having Chancellor Palpatine and Padme, right, your Republic stuff.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think she's good though. I do think she's actually pretty decent.
I mean, like a Suicide ECL play with her isn't too bad, right?
No.
because it doesn't have to be like the medal ceremony where they have to attack kind of thing. It's just like
you kill her and
blow her up.
Yep. So I'm gonna throw a lightsaber on her, or I'm gonna put a blaster. Yeah, come kill her, because if you don't kill her, I'm going to 100% just stack that shit right on up. So. All right. Well, I think we had a long enough episode tonight. Thank you so much, Matt, for joining us. I don't know. Do you have a website or a podcast or anything? If you do, shout it out.
No, I need to get a Discord back up and running to where, I used to just keep the games up and running where we go. I can usually be found at Magog 29 in most places. That I've used that handle since the beginning of time, back when I rode my Brontosaurus to work. I do appreciate being on the show. I've had fun. Yeah, you guys are a great time here. And I just want to shout out to everybody that made the event a wonderful time. FFG, all my friends, especially my family, my wife, Liz, and my kiddo, Maddie. They were just really good. And her best friend, which is my other adopted kiddo, Vera. You guys have been great. Everybody's been wonderful. And we have a wonderful community, and I hope we keep it that way.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to have you back on at some point in the future here. You could join our Trench show and just sit and listen. You could be like the lurking Thai guy in the background. You'd be like, oh, wait. Oh, man. I don't want you to play that, that type of thing. You'd be like, oh, I didn't know Trench did that. Yes, we do have a Trench show planned. I promise you all we have a Trench show planned. I have to wait, though. The other guest that I want on, she's going to Pokemon Worlds. So I told her we'd wait till after that to do it.
Good luck to her.
Yeah, that's kind of what I said.
Great.
I was like, holy crap. Good for you. So we're gonna hold off, and we will do a Trench show either at the end of this month or the beginning of next month, and it will be a full on. It's gonna be nothing but Trench. Like I want a full show of Trench. We're gonna have multiple Trench stacks. We're going to talk about plot. We're gonna talk about all sorts of crazy stuff. So
I look forward to that. I can't wait.
Yeah,
my locals just use Trench as like a synonym for like hard control decks.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, if you've seen any other Trench deck, it's not like a hard control, like mill you out, stall the game out deck. It's like a normal deck. They play like Invincibles and stuff because that's his ship and it's cheaper. Like they're normal decks. I just created a monster that doesn't lose to other control decks.
Yeah. If you do want, we do actually have a deck tech video from set 4, is it?
Yeah.
Or set 3. Yeah, we have a deck tech from set 4, and then we have a secondary semi deck tech for like an updated list for set 5. And we will 100% have one for set 6. Don't worry. We'll have probably multiple. But yeah, if you guys want to check them out, you can check out the playlist for the deck techs. They are in my deck tech playlist on Plentyface Syndicate on YouTube. So you're welcome to check all of those out. Thank you again, Matt. Have a good night, and we will see you on the Flippity Flop.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Bye.